Good morning, indeed. Hello, America. What up, upstate South Carolina? Howdy, world. Welcome in. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It's the fan upstate. What's crack-a-lackin', y'all? Welcome in. Great to have you. Tank Top Thursday underway here on the show. 4 hours of sports talk excellence going down between now and 10 a.m. I am Rob Brown. The pleasure is mine, but not exclusively, because on the other side of the metaphorical glass today, all days, the gentleman in charge of this program and every program you've ever enjoyed, the great one, Lonzo. Hi, Lonzo.
You said all day, like I'm not normally here. I mean, you know.
Okay. I don't know what you want me to say. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. All right. I'm still getting my life together. Still getting my act together. It's going real slow, but that's all right. We're going to.
I'm not sold on the jersey. I mean, because you're wearing a Mavericks jersey. I thought you were a Pelicans fan.
No. I'm wearing a Dirk Nowitzki jersey. He just happened to be a Maverick. To me, the name on the back is more important than the name on the front.
Can't nobody see that? Can't nobody see the number?
Listen, there's no Mav. That's not true. I'd rock a Luka jersey too. You wouldn't rock a Luka jersey? You'd rock a Luka jersey.
I can't rock a basketball jersey, period.
I didn't say you'd rock a jersey, but if you were going to.
Although I like the design, although that's basically a V-neck, man. That's weird.
That's the new jerseys. And I got to tell you.
But the new jerseys are V-necks? I haven't looked that close.
Well, they bounce back and forth. But I
don't see V-necks on there.
I'm going to tell you.
The basketball game on TV right now. Where are the V-necks?
I'm going to tell you, I prefer it. I prefer the cut look.
You would prefer the V-neck. I get it.
I don't know what you want me to tell you. I prefer that. It's a vibe, man. It's a whole vibe.
If they could have a V-neck quarter zip in a basketball jersey.
Well, you can't have a V-neck and a quarter zip. If you want the quarter zip to be a V-neck, you unzip it. Then it's a V-neck. If you zip it, now it's not a V-neck, but it's always a quarter zip.
All right, you're gonna have to explain to me why if the zipper starts here and it only comes down so far, then it's still a quarter zip.
Correct.
Because it's only coming a quarter of the way down the piece of fabric.
A V-neck is something that has the V designed into the shirt. This is a V-neck in that the V is the shirt.
A V-neck could be a quarter zip if it's
a quarter neck can be V-zip or can be V-necked by definition. It can be both a V-neck and not a V-neck. It can be everything from a turtleneck to a V-neck and everything in between.
Which is what I said in the first place. And then you said
right. No. But you're saying it is that thing. It is not a V-neck, but it can be worn as one.
I don't think there is any such thing as a V-neck quarter zip, but there should be. And if there was, you would get it. Although that would be like a cleavage cut, probably.
Well, all V-necks are to some degree.
No, if it was a quarter zip, it definitely would be.
The point here is a quarter zip is a quarter zip. It can be zipped to where it is a V-neck.
I don't think you've really thought this thing through.
No, I definitely have.
What it means. It means it only comes a quarter of the way down the fabric.
Right.
So wherever it starts, if it only comes a quarter of the way down the fabric, so if it starts at the top of the V and it only comes a quarter of the way, it's still a quarter zip.
Right. I'm not saying it's not. It is always a quarter zip. No matter where the zipper is, it is a quarter zip.
Right, so I was right.
But it is not a V-neck.
It could be a V-neck quarter zip.
That's exactly what I said, and you said I was wrong.
No, it's not. You said
If I take that zipper and I take it up to the top, it is not a V-neck.
You're missing the point. If I start a zipper right at the bottom of your quarter zip right there, and it only goes a quarter of the way down, it's still a quarter zip.
It is already established. I could have a shirt that zips all the way open like a GQ model. If I have the zipper here, it is V-necked.
No, you couldn't, because it wouldn't be a quarter zip. And we're talking about quarter zip.
I didn't say I had a quarter zip where the zipper goes down. I said if I have a shirt where the zipper zips all the way, a jacket. If I have a jacket that zips all the way up and down, and I pull the zipper tube betwixt my nips, now it's a V-neck. But it is not a V-neck. It is just V-necked.
We'll listen to this later, and you'll realize that you're saying two totally opposite things. The first thing you said was that I was wrong, even though I was right. And now you're trying to say that I said something different than what I said when I said something? Are you writing it down to make sure that you remember?
No, I'm plugging
later?
plugging my tablet in because I have to actually keep track of things that we really do talk about today because
You got a pewter over there.
I do have a pewter, but I like the tablet of truth. I like writing. I'm a writer.
So why not just use paper?
Because then I got to carry paper around. This I just
You're right. Paper so much heavier than.
Well, what are we in the Stone Age? No, we have technology now, and I utilize it to the best of my abilities. Also, speaking of technology, that's badass.
That is pretty sweet.
That's badass. They're showing last night. They opened up the new Intuit Dome, which is where the Clippers play. And if you haven't seen this thing, it's Steve Ballmer opened it. It is I want to say it's like a 25,000, 30,000 seat arena. It has a full enormous wraparound ring screen that runs around the top, but it's actually super dope in that the screen's on both sides, the inside and the outside, so you can see every bit of it anywhere in the stadium. It's got like the totally updated holographic vibe to it, and on top of that, it's interactive with the fans throughout the game, right? So on the chair in the Intuit Dome, there are buttons, and throughout the course of the night, they put up poll questions and they put up trivia and stuff like that. And you answer those things, and like there you can use it to do prize giveaways and stuff like that.
Shocked if you answer wrong?
I mean, Ballmer is he is a billionaire, and you know how I feel about that. But I don't think he went full saw on us. I don't think it's quite that intense.
Does it also give off cents?
It does, from what I understand. And I read some of this last night. I don't know how much of it is accurate or not. And I want to go to a game, to be honest with you. Like, I want to go to LA and see it and go to a game there. But my understanding is that the last couple of years at some of the shows at like Disney World and stuff, they have put little mechanical things in the chair so that the chair can respond. So like if something happens on stage, your chair will vibrate, right? So it feels like whatever's happening on stage is happening with you or whatever. I believe he said that they have those in the chair. So like if there's a dunk or something, your chair will rattle with the rim. And I'm like, okay, if we're keeping it a buck, somebody described to me the other day, professional wrestling. By the way, Fight Club coming up at 9:20 this morning, and boy, how do we have stuff to talk about. Somebody described the other day to me at wrestling as musical theater for dudes. And I thought, you know what? That's actually fair. That's actually pretty fair. That's a pretty thick. I actually think you could go one step further and say sports is just theater for bros. And by the way, bros is a gender inclusive term. All right. Ladies is bros too. Go on, dust your shoulders off. I think it's theater for bros. And because it's theater for bros, I think the stage on which the action is performed is actually part of the environment, part of the experience, right? Like I went up to Boston a couple of years ago with the then fiance. We took a trip up to Beantown, Massachusetts. And I'm going to tell you, Fenway Park is just a baseball park. All right. It's another stadium. It's nice, but it's just an old baseball stadium. And it's got the vibe of an old baseball stadium. Yet, and I'm not too manly to admit this, I cried when we walked into that stadium and I saw it for the first time. That like open shed a tear as a 37, 38-year-old man. I cried when I entered that stadium. Why? Because of the amount of memories for me as a baseball fan and for baseball, the game, that have been created there. That's the same field Ted Williams played on. That's the same field that some of the most iconic baseball games that have ever been played have been played on. That green monster out there in left field has been the backdrop of some of the most incredible baseball stories that have ever been told. And for the first time in my life, I got to walk into that stadium and see that monster and look up at the press box where some of the greatest baseball storytellers of all time have honed and shared their craft with us. I got to look out at the bullpen where some of the greatest pitchers of all time have gotten prepared. I got to look at right field where Ted sent dinger after dinger during his career. I got to look out at the bump where Babe Ruth both pitched from and took a lot of dudes yad from. I got to see all of that in person. And because sports is theater for dudes, for bros, and the ladies who are bros too. When I got to take all that in, we walked in and I will never forget the lady. By the way, I knew she's asked a couple of times. People have asked me, when did you know that she was the one? When we scheduled a trip to go to Boston. And despite the fact that I very wanted to, I did not say, what if we go see the Patriots play while we're there? What if we go see the Red Sox play while we're there? What if we go to Yankee Stadium while we're there? What if we do all the sports things? And it's not because she wouldn't have said yes, but it was because we were going to meet her friends, and it was it was a trip with her friends and her friend group and whatever. So I was like, I'm not going to be that guy that's like, yeah, I know we're going to do brunch in the New York City skyline, but like Yankee Stadium, huh? What do you say we go see Yankee Stadium? I didn't do that. So we were putting the plans together. And a couple of nights before, I'm like, all right, what are we doing? What are we doing the first night we get there? And she goes, oh, I didn't tell you. I got us tickets to go see Yankees at Red Sox at Fenway Park. I was like, that's it. That's it. That was the moment. So we get there and we go in to Fenway Park. Fenway Park it's not just the baseball stadium. You actually give your tickets to the people before you walk into the entire neighborhood, basically, because Fenway Park, the streets that border the park are part of the park. So you give your tickets, and then it's a whole street festival with bars and everything on those streets. And once you check in with your ticket, you can hang out on those streets for the street festival, and then you can go in and out of the actual baseball stadium back out to the park, to the streets and the bars and all that. So when we got there, I'm like, oh, let's go in. She's like, hang on, we got to go over here. I'm like, all right, why? So we do it. And then she walks me and she's like, we're going in this gate. And I looked at our tickets. I'm like, this isn't our gate. She's like, I know, but we're going in this gate anyway. She walked me into the gate so that when we went into the stadium, we were directly across from the monster. First thing I saw when I walked into Fenway Park was the monster. And it was like, it's incredible. I am not ashamed to admit that I stopped. I stood in the middle of the walkway. I hate people who stand in the middle of the walkway. If you're a person who takes their time walking, but you walk down the middle of the sidewalk, you're a monster. You're a bad person, and somebody needs to tell you you're a bad person, all right? I stood in the middle of that walkway, of that ramp going into Fenway Park when I saw the monster, and I saw the pitcher's mound, and I looked out to right field and saw the bullpen, and I looked up and to the left and saw the press box, and I just took that in and 100% missed it up and cried like I had just watched the end of Old Yeller all over again. The environment that we watch sports in matters a lot. This is why there's a lot of colleges that have really crappy stadiums unless you ask the people who grew up watching games in that stadium. And then it's the most iconic stadium, and it's got character, and it's got person. With stadiums, much like with people, if somebody says they have a lovely personality, you know what that means. All right? We're going to bro for a minute. You know what it means when somebody says, I want to set you up on a blind date. They have a lovely personality. You know what it means. It means the same thing when people are talking about their favorite football stadium, baseball stadium, whatever. If they say it's got personality, it means it's a janky ass stadium. I want one of two stadiums. I want a Fenway Park that's old, and every player that's ever played the game has played a game there. Every player you ever heard of that played Major League Baseball played a game in that stadium, on that field. There's something about that. Or I want what Steve Ballmer just built. I want a tech-infused, what is damn near augmented reality stadium. All right? Have you seen the the program that the NBA is working on right now with the VR glasses.
Are you where you can
the courtside?
Yeah, that's been out for a while. They just for a few years now. They're just really pushing it now because they've perfected it with the new. I forget what the new headset
was.
Is.
It Meta or whatever? No, not Meta. Oculus, or is that the old one?
I think Oculus was the old one. I've been seeing a bunch of ads.
I know,
including the dude in the laundromat.
Yeah,
who puts them on and he's courtside. I started to try it a couple of years ago on PSVR and never did because the headset's too heavy for me. And after a while it gets too hot. These new ones look a lot lighter because I'm trying to imagine having one on for an entire game. But it does look really cool. And they've been working on perfecting it year after year. And the fact that they're pushing it so much now, I think they finally think they're there.
Or at least very close to it. I will tell you right now, here's how much I'm excited about that. If you came to me right now and you said, Rob Brown, we will give you one of two things. We will either give you a full PS5 rig, full setup, everything you want, sound bars, the VR headset, every game they've made for it, every different style, whatever you can give it, or we're going to give you just the VR headset and a subscription to the NBA courtside thing. Because basically what they do is inside these stadiums.
It's MetaQuest, by the way.
MetaQuest.
Yeah.
Inside of these stadiums, they have a 360-degree camera that sits on a stick in a chair next to the scorer's table. So it's courtside. And when you pop into this camera with your VR glasses, as you look around, you can utilize the entire camera. And so basically, it's as if you are, when you have these goggles on, it's as if you are sitting courtside. You can follow the action back and forth. And wherever you look, you're getting that.
By the way, it's not every game.
I know it's not every game yet.
Yeah, they actually have a NBA VR schedule, which I'm looking at now to see the games that they have and the stadiums that are the arenas. Tomorrow, the first one is Chicago versus Milwaukee.
Bulls Bucks. Yeah. See, I would to get that experience as if I am watching Dame and Giannis.
It's in Milwaukee.
Even better.
So
if I get that, I will tell you straight up. If I had access to any game I wanted every time I wanted it, right? When we get to a point, and it will get here, when we get to a point that this equipment is in every NBA arena for every NBA game, and I can pick and choose any game I want to tune in and feel like I'm watching courtside from my own couch. I'm spending all the money on that. I'm spending all the money.
It looks like right now they have 52 games scheduled. I don't see anything about playoffs, but
is this now?
Of them.
And I should know about this. I should know more about this as somebody who's very interested in it. Is this like a subscription thing? Or is it if you buy this headset, you can just tune in?
No, you still have to do the NBA thing.
Okay. So for the record,
but I absolutely
before
when I looked, it looked like you could buy individual games. There's an app that you have to buy into, it looks like.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a whole thing. It's an app. It's probably got a subscription or at least the option to purchase game by game. I'll tell you right now, if you're going to let me sit on my couch with a headset on and watch the game as if I am next to the scorer's table, down to when guys come over to check in and they go to put the bottom of their shoes on that sticky thing, to get the dust off before they go out on the hardwood. If you're going to let me sit there and feel as if I'm sitting next to Giannis when he checks in, I will pay NBA ticket prices to watch that from home.
One thing I don't know if you also get the game cast as far as the announcers and stuff goes, or if it's just the full arena experience where you're just hearing the crowd.
Would you have a preference to that? I don't care.
I would like both.
Yeah, if I could have both, I would. Ambient sound underneath the announcers. But I'll tell you right now, I would pay NBA ticket price. If you said that next weekend it's Pelicans Hawks live from New Orleans, and that was an option, and it was like $100 for that game, I'd pay it for that. Absolutely. All right, I don't even know how we ended up here, but it was a good discussion. We went from V-necks to quarter zips to Fenway Park to sitting courtside in an NBA game. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rob Brown Show is here on the Fan Upstate.
Salvation Army.
All right, guys. Good morning, everybody. Quick live, and I'm coming right back. Stay right there for us.
That's the point of a donut, I suppose.
Apparently, with the new Apple CarPlay, it is connected to where you can order from fast food restaurants right on the little screen in your car. I can't have it.
I've never tried that.
We've had the conversation before, the conversations that I've had many times, I know, about attendance at sporting events, right? One of the illustrations we've talked about this year is if you watch, say, Clemson, Florida State at Florida State, there's a huge swath of that stadium that is tarped off right now. And it's tarped off because Florida State is knocking out like thousands of seats out of Doak S. Campbell Stadium. And they are replacing those seats with about a quarter to a third of the same number of seats in a luxury setting, right? It's going to be effectively a tiered patio area. Then instead of having a seat like in a stadium, there's like high top tables with umbrellas and stuff, like you would go to a brunch restaurant, and it's going to have dedicated bars and table service and yada yada yada. And those are obviously only going to be available to people who have mucho dinero. So a lot of Florida State fans are getting real mad because they're like, yo, you're like the prices of other tickets are going to go up. Well, not for Florida State. They're not, because nobody's going to those games anymore. But if the team was good, the prices of all the tickets would go up. And I have made the point to you in the past, because I've always used the expression, it does not matter to a team whose butt is in a seat. It simply matters that a butt is in the seat. But I'm actually going to refine that just a little bit. It is not whose butt is in a seat or that a butt is in a seat. It is that a team's got a budget and they need to make X dollars per home game. And how they get to that number is irrelevant. How they get to that, if I mean this, if tomorrow somebody somewhere, some prince in the Middle East called Jerry Jones and said, I would like to give you $5 billion. And in return for that $5 billion, I would like to come to a Cowboys game and be the only fan in the stadium. The rest of the owners would say no, but I guarantee you more professional owners and colleges would say yes to that request than any of us are comfortable acknowledging. They would absolutely say yes to that request, because it is not how many people they pack in a stadium. The reason that when you go to games, they have people like me on the microphone hyping up the crowd, and they have, quarter and intermission and timeout entertainment and all that, is so that you are willing to give them money to continue to do that thing. No other reason, right? None. So we have hit this point where more people than ever before, and I know there's some of the national shows that have run poll questions on this, on their shows or on Twitter or whatever else, where they've said, would you rather watch a game at home or would you rather watch it in the stadium? And I've said for years, I'm a live sports guy. I love being at live sporting events. It's my favorite thing, but I also acknowledge I'm not normal, and that I like watching a live sport in person because I like watching the sport, and I get to see the field and the game and the players and the plays and the tactics and the concepts and all that. I get to see all that in a way that television can't, and in many cases at least won't, present it to me. I get to look at it the way that I want to watch the game. And that's not always the case on television. But then you have guys like, and I'm gonna I don't think it's a call out. He said it on the show before. I'm gonna like Diesel, who has said, I'd rather be on my own couch with my own beer that's dramatically cheaper. I don't have to wait in line for a bathroom. It's not a stinky, sweaty swamp like it is when I go to a game. I get to control my own air conditioner. I get to control when I get up. I don't have to disturb 19 other people in the row every time I want to go grab a brewski or whatever. There are a lot of people, probably more than ever before, that would elect to stay home and watch a game than go to the stadium and watch the game. And so I think that is in large part why you are starting to see leagues, and I think the NFL is working on it.
Let me tell you about the last game that I went to, NFL. And it's been a while. It was a preseason game. You can look it up. I have no idea how many years ago it was, between Kansas City and the Panthers. I had 2 frat boys behind me trying to pull my ponytail. I had a man spreader next to me who was not giving me enough room to even breathe. And I had a jersey popper in front of me who was really tall, who popped every time something minor happened. And all I could think of is, you know where I don't get any of this? At home. I can watch my team at home and not have to worry about all these things that could go wrong and possibly, I mean, those guys pulling my ponytail. What do I do? Do I
you go get a cop because that's assault?
Well,
is what you do.
Yeah, but what would most people do? I mean, how many times do we see fights in stadiums and it's out there so much to where I think it almost encourages it, because people are like, well, they went viral, so I'm going to fight when I get to the stadium. It's so much easier to sit at home and watch it. And you get to hear the announcers. You get more angles at home than you do sitting in the stadium. That part of what you said, I don't get. Unless you're in a press box, you're not going to see everything. I mean, unless you can afford, and even if you're on the 50-yard line, you can't see everything. You're almost at ground level.
So to a couple of things there. I start with, I am sorry you had that experience, because I go to 3 to 9 professional sporting events a year, and I've never experienced anything like that. So that seems like crap luck for you. It does. And this is not a,
by the way, I left at halftime and
sure.
And Cameron's like, are you sure, Dad? You sure you want to leave now? It's like, you saw that. This is only going to get worse. Yeah. So let's just go.
I'm sorry you had that experience to start. Because that, like I said, I go to a Carolina Panther game at least one every year. I go every time the Saints play at Carolina.
All right. I need to point out how long ago this was. The Panthers were actually good.
It does help when there are as many Saints fans in the building as Panther fans. But I have been to games. I have been, as a Saints fan, as an away fan, I've been to games in Atlanta. I've been to games in Tampa. Been to a game in Tampa. Been to a game in Miami. Been to a game in what other state? I went to Old Cowboy Stadium. Been to a game in San Diego when the Chargers were there. And even as an away fan every time, I've never had that experience.
I'll be curious 5 years from now if you still have that same mentality. Because as you get older, I mean, other things come into play. That walk up to the top of the stadium because you can't afford to be down at the bottom becomes a little more difficult. And having to wade through crowds and things. And it just, I think age does come into play. Eventually.
It might, because I will tell you that I have found as I've aged, I've found myself more frustrated at particular aspects of games, right? Like it used to be, I wouldn't care if I was in a tunnel and people were leaving the game and people were taking the time. Now I'm like, can y'all go? Can you go? There's doors everywhere. Just pick one and go through it. They all go out, go. So I get it. But the stuff now I will say this. I am absolutely a dude who will engage in let's say friendly smack talk at a game. If a dude stands up and pops the jersey at me when Carolina does something, you would best believe the next time the Saints have the football and do something, I'm popping right back. But it is always for me, with daps and high fives and whatever in the meantime. Like, I'm going to talk my smack and have my fun. I've never had anything happen like that at a game. However, I will also say, when I'm at my house, I'm genuinely comfortable, right? I'm genuinely comfortable. So when I see stuff like this, like these VR headset sideline views that they're putting up, I'm intrigued as to, one, how well they do, and B, what that does to attendance and game day experience. Because at some point you are going to get to a spot where I think teams are either going to have to make the game day experience A, cheaper, or B, worth the $100 a ticket plus to go to a game. Because if the option is I can buy a VR headset for $400 and for $150 a year, the cost of a game, I can buy 50 games of my team to watch at home in the NBA or all of my home games for the NFL team or whatever and be on the bench. Yeah, why would I not do that, right? So I'm intrigued to see how this whole thing plays out. Take a break. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. I will, my old man / 1%er take. Joey B, I would say this. I think a lot of that depends on the game. Like when the Saints go to Carolina, I usually do I usually do save up. We're going to go again this year. And I usually absolutely save up for tickets in the lower bowl, right? I do want to have fun. However, my people sit up top. All right. That's just my people sit. The people that dap it up, talk smack, have fun, get rowdy, drink a couple extra brewskis before they walk in. Those people sit up top. And that's just fun to me.
I will say I had more fun in a luxury box than I did down because there's most people in the luxury box. They're up there. They're socializing. And there are the seats right out in front, especially in the Panther Stadium.
Yeah.
The luxury boxes have like a row of seats, or is it 2 rows? I can't remember. That's incorporated into the box. So you go down and sit in those seats. So you're still sitting in the stadium, but you're not sitting surrounded by all those other people. So if you really got money, I think the thing to do is to get in a luxury box.
See, I like luxury boxes in terms of the room and the food and not having to wait in line at a bar. They're not as much fun.
Well, they were to me. And maybe it's the seclusion part. But again, no one from what I could see, looking at the boxes right or left, all the people stay in the box. They're socializing. They're looking at the screens. Yeah. They don't go out and sit in the seats in front.
Yeah.
So you can go out and sit where you want within that little thing. You don't have to worry about the man spreading, the ponytail pulling, all that kind of stuff. And I was not in a good space. So they pulled my ponytail. I was.
See, that's 100% go find a cop spot. There's no way. There's no way that's making me leave a game.
One of the things that make you react more than anything is someone pulling your hair. It's a slap in the face or a pull in your hair. I don't know which. I think they may be equal. I'm talking about reactionary. There's no thought. You pull my hair, I'm probably going to punch you. But I'm pretty old now, and I don't know how, it's not about power. My speed's not there, so you probably could get out of the way. Please don't pull my hair in public. I can handle the ponytail thing more than the man spreading guy. It's like, dude, I get you're like 6'5", but stop it. Trying to remember if Rob man spreads or not in the stadium.
No, I'm liberal of the woke warrior.
After a certain point, he's real.
Don't man spread.
He's real touchy, so it doesn't matter.
Don't man spreads in my political philosophy.
Okay.
The Rob Brown Show carries on. The Fan Upstate. Rob the Great One, Lonzo, and you. We found out after the show was over yesterday. Zoe and I went and got some lunch. And as we were scrolling the Twitters during the day, found out that the Kansas City Chiefs, who obviously picked up DeAndre Hopkins yesterday from the Tennessee Titans, did indeed make a pass at the Rams to get Cooper Kupp. But we're not willing to come off of the price tag that the Rams placed on Cooper Kupp. We have learned since that they are seeking at least a second-round pick in return for Cooper Kupp. The Chiefs unwilling to come off the second-round pick, so they end up with D-Hop as their second option.
Well, not just that, but you have to deal with his contract, too.
Well, and that part's interesting because you also have to deal with DeAndre Hopkins' contract. In fact, the reason when they said yesterday in the morning that they were finalizing a trade, what actually was happening was that there was a three-way negotiation between DeAndre Hopkins, the Titans, and the Chiefs. Because in order for the trade to go through, D-Hop had to sign a new contract with the Titans that shifted the money away around in a way that they were happy with and a way that the Chiefs were happy with. So D-Hop had to negotiate with the Titans, but the Chiefs were over on the side going, yeah, no, we're not going to accept the contract if it's got that, change it to this, whatever. And that's what we were waiting on yesterday. Eventually it got done. But it was pointed out that D-Hop, and this is why we asked the question yesterday. And we're going to ask Hatin Ask Mario because we got Mario Herron from the BetQL Network, NFL Insider, joining us later on in the show. I should say analyst joining us later on in the show, 9 o'clock. There were a lot of folks yesterday that said this was very clearly a second option selection from the Chiefs, that Cooper Kupp was the right play in this spot. And I asked the question on the show yesterday after this news came through. If I presented you with the slider where on one hand it's D-Hop is 32 years old and past his prime, that's why he's got, what is it, like 200 yards of receiving this year, almost halfway through the season. If I, on one end of this slider, I've got D-Hop's 32 years old and he's just past his prime, he can't help that much. Or on the other side of this slider, I've got the Titans are just that bad. The Will Levis is that bad. The Titans are that bad. The coaching staff is that bad. Brian Callahan is that bad. I don't even know who the offensive coordinator is in Tennessee. Who's the offensive coordinator in Tennessee right now?
I don't think most people know that.
That's fair. Yeah. It's my job to know, and I don't know that. It's it's Nick Holtz. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it because the Titans are that bad and Will Levis is that bad? Or is it because DeAndre Hopkins is 32 years old and been in the league for a very long time and just ain't the same guy anymore? And for me, if that's a slider where I got to move it to one side or the other, for me, it's right in the middle. It's right in the middle. D-Hop is a 32-year-old wide receiver. There aren't many 32-year-old wide receivers that got it still. There's just not. Very few of them do. The ones who make it to 32 and still got it are the Randy Mosses of the game. So do I think you are going to see an increase, an upward trajectory in terms of performance from DeAndre Hopkins? Yes. It's Andy Reid and it is Patrick Mahomes. Although, as has been pointed out a couple of times, Patrick Mahomes this year, let me say this slowly and clearly, statistically, Patrick Mahomes isn't good this year. Statistically. In fact, it was pointed out to me yesterday, and actually let me go grab this because I found it very interesting. Statistically, Trevor Lawrence is outperforming Patrick Mahomes this year. It got sent to me. I got sent that take in graph format, and it blew my mind. I gotta find it. Now I gotta go dig.
You get chills and goosebumps.
They're
and stuff
multiplying.
When you saw a graph,
and I'm losing control. Cause the power Andy's supplying, it's electric. Okay, why did I do that?
Chris is gonna walk in and smack you.
Chris will sing and he'll come in and duet it
with
me.
No, he won't. He hates Grease.
You better shape up.
So
because I need a quarterback.
I think this is sheer comedy, the fact that people are pointing out how bad Patrick Mahomes is.
Why is it comedy? I mean, they're 6-0.
It's comedy because they're 6-0. The running game is amazing right now, and the defense is great. They've changed how they do things. They've had to because, as you pointed out, lack of receiver. So they've become a running team that plays really good defense. And what do you need for that? You need a quarterback who doesn't make mistakes. And I know he's thrown more interceptions.
More picks than anybody else.
Right. And those have resulted in defeats for Kansas City, right?
No. 0 of them, as a matter of fact. But again, I think this is where that
it's not a factor until it costs you a game.
I think this is where that mentality of are you winning because of or in spite of comes into play. And listen, we can break it down to he's 6-0, and he is. He's killing it. And he's not killing it. The team is killing it. But when you look at the numbers for 2024, I think it is fair to say Mahomes is not living up to what we are used to from Patrick Mahomes. And I said that coming into the year. I am concerned about Patrick Mahomes' wide receiver core this year, because I do think that it is going to take a move from Kansas City to get Kansas City to where they need to be. It just is. Here's the numbers. Found the numbers, by the way. Mahomes, 127 completions on 187 attempts. Lawrence, 131 out of 211. Percentage of completions, Mahomes 67.9, Lawrence 62.1. But in terms of yards, Trevor Lawrence has 200 more yards. He has 3 more touchdowns. He has 5 fewer interceptions. And, this is where I would absolutely point out the Jags stink too. In fact, Lawrence has got better weapons catching the football. That's not even a question to me than Patrick Mahomes does.
What did you say, 2? You mean you're comparing the two teams, and then you said the Jags stink too.
Sorry, Jags offensive line and weapons stink too. The interior of the Chiefs offensive line is good. The exterior, the 2 tackles, meh. If for no other reason, then they're the most penalized group in the game. Trevor Lawrence's offensive line is bad. The weapons that Jacksonville has for Trevor Lawrence are better than the weapons put around Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. However, Patrick Mahomes has got the secret sauce. That is Andy Reid, who we paid a lot of compliments to yesterday. A lot of compliments to yesterday, in that I don't think there is a coach better at knowing the strengths of the guys that are suited up on his squad and deploying them in a concept and a game plan that takes advantage of those strengths better than Andy Reid. I heard a guy yesterday on ESPN say, and I don't think he's wrong. If the Chiefs three-peat this year and Andy says, that's enough, I'm tired, boss, I'm going home, Patrick Mahomes' career hits a downslope real fast. And I think that might be right. I think it might be right. That's not to say he won't be good, but I don't think he's going to be a dude that's threatening to three-peat at QB anymore. I think he's still very good. I think he's still one of the best in the game. But if Andy Reid bails, if he retires, if he calls it, if he's tired, boss, and goes home, I think Mahomes comes downhill real quick. Like, he becomes a good quarterback, but I don't think he puts up the numbers that you go, oh, this guy's threatening Brady without Andy Reid. I don't think he gets there. All of that being said, if there's a sliding bar where on this side it's D-Hop's 32 years old and he's been in the game 100 years, and over here it's the Tennessee Titans led by Will Levis and the coaching staff. Hey, remember 3 minutes ago when I asked who the offensive coordinator was, and then I told you? Who's the offensive coordinator? It's 3 minutes ago. That's my point, right?
Yeah, but I don't care. So I mean,
what do you mean you don't care?
I don't care who the offensive coordinator is.
Why?
I don't. It's not important to me. What's important is wins and losses. And I know that offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator or special teams coordinator contributes to all that, but I don't think the average fan knows who the coaches are on every team.
And once again, the exact reason I've said this is why your team doesn't give a damn about your opinion. If you don't care who the offensive coordinator is because all that matters is wins, that's a great fan perspective. Awful way to run a football team. Awful way to run a football team. That's a good way to go for decades if you don't care who your coaches are.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And the Kansas City Chiefs have a history of being a losing team year after year after year.
Who the hell said about the Chiefs? I'm talking about you. You said, I don't care who their offensive coordinator is. That's a real bad way to evaluate talent. You don't think when they went to pick DeAndre Hopkins.
You don't look at the dude.
The
majority of the people listening right now have no idea who the offensive coordinator is for their favorite team.
I don't care. That's a fan perspective. Okay. I don't care. If you are the type of dude that calls this show and goes, I don't care what the Panthers do in the front office, I just want them to win. There's no conversation to be had there. Okay, me too. Great phone call. Next, right? Like if that's the reason that you do that is because every outcome has a million variables and your job is to dial in on all of them to figure out where I can tinker and play with. If your mentality is, I don't care what the Chiefs do as long as they win, why are you listening to sports talk radio? What's the point, right? For us, it is to dial in on what is happening and why.
All right, I think first of all, you tried to play a memory game, and most people cannot remember what you said the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans was, and it was more than 3 minutes ago. It was more like 10 minutes ago.
The point is, if you are looking at DeAndre Hopkins, and we are genuinely asking the question.
You don't know who the offensive coordinator is for your team. You're a bad person.
No, you're an average fan, and that's okay.
So,
but
there are more average fans than there are super fans.
Okay,
and you can listen to radio for opinions and not have to know about who the offensive coordinator is. You chastise me because I don't care.
No. You're taking something personally that ain't personal. It's not personal. My point here is
emotional. If it was personal, I'd be getting emotional.
If I am evaluating whether or not DeAndre Hopkins is indeed a valuable addition to the Kansas City Chiefs, which impacts the Ravens, the Bills, 31 other teams. 31 other teams are impacted by D-Hop going to the Chiefs. If I am evaluating...
That remains to be seen, by the way. Just because of how good the situation is doesn't mean he's going to fit with the team. He may go there and they may not use him.
So that is absolutely a good conversation. And part of that conversation...
You're right, and not who the offensive coordinator for Tennessee was.
Part of that conversation is what does D-Hop bring to the football field? What is he capable of? And part of that conversation is, does he play within an offense now that is actively engaged in trying to get him the football, to scheme him open, or is he in an offense that doesn't do that? Because if you are trying to go for a three-peat and you need a wide receiver to put into, and you do, then to go get a, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted.
It's okay. As I said yesterday, it's been echoed on the stream. He's not going to more than likely be very productive at the beginning because he's going to get double teams.
Not what we're talking about.
Which is going to open Kelsey. I'm sorry, I was talking about football.
Yeah, me too.
Are you?
Who calls the plays for the Tennessee Titans? What's the scheme that he uses?
I don't
What's
care.
That percentage of...
And neither do you.
No, I do care.
No, you don't. Come on. You don't care about Tennessee.
No, I don't. I care about DeAndre Hopkins' addition to the Chiefs. And the only way that I can try to figure out what he's going to do is look at what he's done. And what he's done is directed and controlled by an offensive coordinator who calls the plays.
All right, let's go back to when he had a good quarterback. Whenever he had a good quarterback,
why do we ever talk about Andy Reid? All that matters is Patrick Mahomes winning and losing. But do you ever talk about the game plan Andy Reid puts into play?
Not really.
I got nothing for you then.
Not really.
Have fun on Sundays. I don't know what to say.
By the way, I do have fun on Sundays. I have a lot of fun.
I'm sure you do, because you don't care about anything but the final score.
No, because my team's undefeated.
Offensive coordinators matter. They're people too. Sports Flash. Sports Flash.
Wonder who the offensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints is.
Blake Kubiak, former passing coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, who took them to the Super Bowl last year.
And you're the only one who cares. The NBA regular season saw a full slate of contests last night, including a 110-105 win over the Houston Rockets by the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball led all scorers in the game, recording 34 with 11 assists and 8 boards. Trey Mann added 24, 11, and 8. Off the bench, the Hornets start the season 1-0. NC State Wolfpack quarterback Grayson McCall said yesterday he's retiring from football following a series of injuries, the latest sustained in the Wolfpack's home loss to Wake Forest October 5th. McCall has had head injuries, including a serious one last year at Coastal. McCall says that he hopes to enter coaching next. Tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. as the Burns Rebels head to Spartanburg take on the Vikings. It's Burns versus Spartanburg right here on your home for Burns Rebels football. The Fan, Upstate. All right, Moles, find out if he's really mad. Seems like an awful lot of anger about nothing. I'm just saying. Probably right, Frank. But again, it's probably a combination of the offense that's called, but more than likely, it's the quarterback who's throwing to him. It's the offensive line that's blocking for him. I also don't understand how the Chiefs' offensive line is bad. They're not. If you need to switch to music, Tracy, please don't switch to country. It will rot your brain.
Yeah, exactly, Frank. Thank you very much.
Hey, Rob. What was the Titans offensive coordinator's name?
Nick Holtz, former Nebraska coordinator.
I'm going to ask you again.
Which is important because he comes from a Big Ten Middle East style offense where they try to force the football
Rob,
instead of taking advantage of receivers on the outside.
You said Middle East offense.
Middle
You said Middle East offense. I don't think they have those there. I could be wrong.
And off we go into our number 2 of the Rob Brown Radio Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, with you this AM as we turn our attention to the football weekend upcoming. Lulu Kesin will join the show at 8 a.m. to talk Gamecock football. It's the bye week. I don't care. Football never sleeps. At 8:40, Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast will join us. You know we got stuff to talk about with him. Why? Because we got quarterback news that we will get to here in just a minute as part of the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know coming up here in mere seconds from now. 9 o'clock, Hatin as Mario Herron from the BetQL Network is going to join us to talk about all of the news and notes from a very busy day in the NFL yesterday with a couple of players changing teams. We'll get to that, the impact it has on those teams, the impact it has on those divisions, on those conferences, on the league at large. That's coming up at 9 a.m. and at 9:20, Fight Club with the great one Lonzo, where we'll take a look at some of the biggest MMA, boxing, and pro wrestling conversations as your home for combat sports here in the Upstate. It is the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. It is also close enough that we're going to say 7:02 in the morning, which means you have 58 minutes to get to the office. You have 58 minutes to get in front of the desk to pop off responses to those passive-aggressive emails that your boss sent you last night after working hours expecting a response. Stop it, boss. It's me time. NBA was on last night. Leave me alone. But once you're done with those emails, you're going to walk on down the hall, you're going to head to the break room, and you're going to talk sports with your coworkers. And in order to do that, you need to know what's going on in sports. You need to know what's going on in sports. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why we do this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying, "You must chill!" even before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet on the Fan Upstate.
The Water Cooler Cheat Sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports this AM. This is what you shall be discussing, ladies and gentlemen. Let us dive right in with item number 1. The NBA had a full slate of contests last night as the regular season is now officially underway. We had a pair of games on Tuesday night. We had everybody else getting into the action last night, and the Charlotte Hornets get a dub 1-0 to start the season. They go on the road down to H-Town and knock off the Rockets 110-105. Welcome back to the scene, a young man by the name of LaMelo Ball. 34 points, 11 dimes, 8 boards last night for number 1 as LaMelo Ball made his return to the starting lineup. It was accompanied by 10 from Miles Bridges, but it was Trey Mann, the pleasant surprise off the bench. He went for 24 in his opening contest yesterday evening. Brendan Miller ended up with 6 in a starting role. Cody Martin added 8, and you ended up with 6 out of Nick Richards for your starting 5. Nobody else off the bench had more than 7. That, of course, was Seth Curry. Yes, his brother. He got 7 off the bench. Outside of that, not a lot of depth here for the Charlotte Hornets, and that is something that will become more impactful, I think, as we get deeper into the season. I think there are some moves that are going to have to be made by the Hornets in order to increase their ability to bring guys in off the bench and put some deep into that rotation, because right now they don't have it. But as a starting 5 go, my only question is going to be, what happens if LaMelo starts to get exhausted? What happens if LaMelo ends up in a spot? Who's going to be the guy that's going to step up? I do think Brandon Miller is better than he showed last night. My man only put up 4 shots. He's better than that. 2 of them, by the way, 3-pointers. He's a better player than that. We did not see anywhere close to the best we're going to see out of Brandon Miller, I don't think. But keep in mind, this is a team with a brand new head coach in Charles Lee, who comes over from Boston, 39 years old, young cat. Has been around a number of successful programs as an assistant coach. It is his first time to get a run with the clipboard in hand, and he starts off his career with a dub last night. Around the rest of the Association yesterday evening, Indiana outpaced Detroit 115-109. Atlanta starts their year off 30 points and 12 dimes from Trae Young en route to a 120-116 win over Brooklyn. The Magic made the Heat disappear 116-97. The Bucks put the hooves to the 76ers 124-109, 25-14 and 7 out of Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Cavs strike the Raptors 136-106. The Bulls fall to You're My Hour New Orleans Pelicans last night 123-111. Brandon Ingram 33 points and 7 boards last night, but Dejounte Murray out with a broken hand. He was really the 3-point difference maker for New Orleans. Still waiting on the debut of one Zion Williamson sometime down the stretch. We'll find out when Big Z makes his way back for the Pellies, but they are 1-0 to start the year. The Grizz down the Jazz last night, 126-124, 22 and a 10 spot on the assist category for Ja Morant in his return. The Suns, 116-113 over the Clippers last night. James Harden had a 29-12-8 score line for the Clips, but missed a shot late in the game to get the dub for LA. So the Clips open up their brand new stadium with an L to Kevin Durant and the Suns. And finally, the Warriors in a late night contest knock off Portland 139-104. Steph Curry, 17 points, 9 boards, 10 assists, just 1 board shy of a triple-double to open up the season. Scoot Henderson recorded 22 for Portland. Let's get to item number 2. Couple of news stories over in the National Football League. We all know, as we discussed it earlier today, that DeAndre Hopkins yesterday traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. But that wasn't the only news that we got. Tua Tagovailoa made his return to the football field yesterday in a limited role at practice. Tua is now eligible to come off the injured reserve. He would be eligible to play this weekend. However, what it would require is 2 things. Number 1, Tua Tagovailoa would have to be a full practice participant either today or tomorrow for the Miami Dolphins. And number 2, after he is a full practice participant for the Miami Dolphins today or tomorrow, he does have to get cleared once more by an independent neurological consultant. They bring in a brain doctor, and the brain doctor has to give Tua a series of tests and say, yes, he is cleared to play, but we could see the return of Tua Tagovailoa as early as this week. I wouldn't bank on it. I got some sound from Tua later in the show. He got asked if there's a chance he might wear a Guardian cap moving forward. I will give you that answer when we talk about him later on in the show. Second story that I found interesting. Robert Saleh, the fired head coach of the New York Jets, yesterday was at Packers practice. He and the head coach of the Packers are buddy-buddy with each other. He was there yesterday. Now, the Packers said that he was there in what is being called a fluid role. So he doesn't have an established office or position or whatever. I'll tell you why he's there. He is a defensive analyst. He is a defensive analyst because the Packers offensively are starting to hit the stride.
Or is he getting paid for this fluid role?
I would imagine so. I mean, maybe not. Maybe he's just there to stay around football.
I mean, I also heard he gets to go home on Friday, so he doesn't even stay for the game. So a fluid role that you get paid for, then you can.
I mean, my suspicion is he's not a game day coach. And so therefore there's no reason for him to hang around Lambeau. He's not a coach on game day, which is why I said he's probably in an analyst role. His job is going to be to show up, to watch practice, and at the end of practice, head to Matt LaFleur's office and say, hey, look, here's what I saw. This guy's doing this. This formation isn't going to work against that particular player, yada, yada, yada. I just find it it's not interesting. It absolutely makes entire sense that somebody saw Robert Salah got fired and immediately said, get your ass to our stadium because we can use you, especially when I got Hoodie on different shows this week going, Jets gonna jet, firing that guy was not the way to handle it.
You know what? It's also cool when one of your boys takes care of you.
Oh, for sure.
Saban did that for years with people.
Oh, Nick Saban's house of rehabilitating coaches, for sure. And finally, the Giants said yesterday they are committed to keeping Brian Daboll on as the head coach. All right, cool. We're going to talk about them later on in the show as well. Finally, item number 3. We stay in the NFL. This time we head right up the road to Charlotte, North Carolina. Yesterday, we got an update. Remember, Andy Dalton on Tuesday evening was involved in a traffic accident. Well, yesterday, Dave Canales updated us on that situation.
Heard Andy Dalton was in a car accident yesterday with his family, with JJ and the kids. Scary moment for sure. Everyone was okay. Everyone was healthy. Unfortunately, in the accident, he did sprain his thumb. Bryce will be playing this week for us, and we'll be evaluating Andy day to day going into this weekend to see if we can get him up as the 2 on game day.
So there you have it. A sprained thumb on the throwing hand of Andy Dalton means that the Carolina Panthers will be going back to Bryce Young as the starter this weekend. We're going to talk about that coming up in a little while with Rashad Beard. What difference might it make with BY having had, 5 contests to sit down, 1 win, 4 consecutive losses. The Panther offense last week, I don't think it could have gone much worse whether Bryce Young was in there or not. But we'll find out this week if there was any growth off the bench from Bryce Young as he will get the nod. Andy Dalton's car accident causing a sprained thumb. Canales says we're going to see if Andy Dalton is available to be on the depth chart as quarterback number 2 behind Bryce Young this weekend. I don't know, because I'm trying to think. I don't think the Panthers have a third quarterback on the roster right now. And I don't know who's on their practice squad that could come up and serve as a quarterback 3. I assume that Andy Dalton would be, if he's got a sprained thumb on his throwing hand. I've had a sprained joint before. They suck. You can't do anything. You can't do anything. If he can't throw the football, you're going to have to get somebody today to come be that guy.
Jack Plummer.
Oh, they brought him back after the preseason.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's on the practice squad.
At least he's got some preseason experience to lean on, right? In this offense. That's about as good as you're going to get. But my sneaky suspicion is that you are going to see Bryce Young as QB1. You will see the practice squad's Jack Plummer elevated to QB2, and Andy Dalton will be a reserve emergency QB3. And if they end up in a spot where they got to bring in Andy Dalton, basically you just hand the ball off until the clock is out and you're mercy killed. But we'll find out. Carolina, of course, coming up this weekend will be on the road at the Denver Broncos, 4:25 on Sunday evening. That game on CBS. BY getting a road start to take on Bo Nix, Sean Payton, and the Denver Broncos. We're going to talk about all of that and more later on in the show. We'll remind you again, Lulu Kesin coming up at 8 o'clock to talk Gamecocks on the bye week. We've got Rashad Beard at 8:40 to talk about the Carolina Panthers as they get set to go to the Mile High City. We've got Hatin Ass Mario at 9 o'clock, and we got Fight Club coming up at 9:20 to talk boxing, MMA, and pro wrestling. That is all around the corner. When we come back here in just a minute from now, got a few things that I do want to get to, including, we mentioned him a second ago, some of the comments of Y'all, Hoodie has won me over. Like when Hoodie left the box, I'm like, I don't need this guy on my TV. All right. Yeah, I'm sure he's got a brilliant football mind. I don't need this guy on my television. He does nothing for me. But the more, and I'll tell you who I'm giving credit to it, Pat McAfee. Because I think he really has brought him and Nick Saban, by the way, out of their shell, out of their box, out of their personality to some degree, and made them better TV guys. I want to talk about that here in just a little while. And a question we're going to ask later on in the show. Does Aaron Rodgers eat his boogers? We've got to get to controversy that has been running wild since the weekend. We're getting to that and more on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate, back right after this break.
QC.
All right, guys, quick live, and I'm coming right back. Stay right there for me, please, and thank you. Yeah, April. I think it's listen, we're actually going to talk about that with Tua coming up here in just a couple of minutes. But I am proud of Grayson McCall for making that call. That was a bad way to put it.
every decision is driven by data. Our knowledgeable team stays ahead of the trends, crafting strategies that align with your business goals. Partnering with Scale Market means gaining a dedicated strategist and a team committed to your success. If you're ready to lead the market, visit scalemarketing.com today. That's scalemarketing.com.
Where is Saluda? What's that? Some hooking up in the parking lot? That's unhygienic. Oh, gotcha.
Casino that's free to play. Head on over to chumbacasino.com now to join in on the fun.
Chumba.
Hey, this is Cole Bryson. It's the most wonderful time of the year. That's right, the high school football season is here, and for the best coverage in the upstate, tune in to Saturday morning show.
What the hell, man?
We'll have instant reaction interviews from players and coaches, and we will take your phone calls. Join me and Alex Guest from 8 to 10 a.m. on 97.7 FM in Spartanburg, 97.7 FM in Greenville, and on the free Odyssey app. All brought to you by Founders Bank Credit Union and your local Eagles. You don't need to check the clock. It's Brown time now. Weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on the
Out of curiosity, where do you guys fall on the Tua Tagovailoa situation? Tua returned to practice yesterday. First time since he went on the injured reserve back on September 12th when he had yet another concussion that I believe, if you include his college days, is now 4 of them that we know of, 4 that have happened in games. Tua made his return to practice and did a press conference where this exchange took place.
Would you wear a Guardian hat?
Nope.
Why?
Personal choice.
Are you, will this change your style of play, your decision to scramble or run or things like that?
It's got to be smart. That's it. It's got to be smart. My entire time playing football, I've been a competitor, and that, is or was sort of my edge when I would run from high school, even in college. I would do the same thing. But it's a professional, setting. This is the professional level, the best of the best. You just can't be doing that. So definitely gotta stay more available for the team, for the organization, for our guys.
Tua asked flat out, will you wear a Guardian cap? He said no. Why? Personal preference. All right. You're right. It is. The wearing of a Guardian cap is something that impacts you and only you. I'm good with it. Okay. I'm also good with Tua being the one who makes the decision about whether or not Tua plays football anymore. It's his call. It's his life. It's his brain. It's his career, et cetera, et cetera. I'm also really uncomfortable with it. Right now, that doesn't mean it's up to me to tell him what to do. It's not. It's his life. It's his brain. He's got to decide what's the best for it, alongside his family and hopefully utilizing the advice of medical professionals. But I'm not comfortable with it. I don't like it. I don't. We have seen Tua now multiple times laying on a football field in that fencer's position. A couple of weeks ago, I was listening to an interview that Cody Decker did on his show with Chris Nowitzki, former WWE wrestler who suffered with concussions. He has gone on to become a neuroscientist, a neurologist, a brain doctor who studies this. And he told Cody Decker that there's a direct comparison in the science of the human brain as there is to the science of studying the oceans, right? We know the surface level. And he said, every now and then you get somebody who goes in a submarine and they do that deep dive to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. And he goes, you ever follow one of those? Every time you see one, they discover something. They discover something. They discover a new species, or they discover a new biological environment where creatures are evolving differently or whatever. But in the grand scheme of things, we don't know what the hell's going on in there. We don't know what's at the bottom of the ocean. And it's the same concept with the human brain. Every time we do another study on the brain, we learn something new about the way that it works, the way it's wired, the way it processes information, and the impact that impact has on the noggin. It's weird to me because on one hand, welcome to America. It is not my job or responsibility or obligation for me to tell someone else to do what to do with their body or their life, with their career, their job, their body, whatever. It's not in my scope of authority. If he wants to play football and he feels like the risk that he is taking, because the other thing Nowitzki said when he was doing this interview was concussion damage doesn't reset, right? When you get a concussion, it's not like you get a concussion and you sit down for 4 or 5 weeks and your body goes back to normal. He said it's not like scraping your knee, where if you scrape your knee and you get a cut and you're bloody, you wait 2-3 weeks and your body patches that up and it's like new. He said it's more like getting surgery on a joint. Will it go back to healthy? Yeah, as can be. But there are ramifications. There's going to be scar tissue. There's going to be a scar. If you've ever had surgery on a joint, there's a lot of people that say that joint never really regains the full strength and flexibility that it used to have, et cetera, et cetera. So the brain's the same way. When you get a concussion, the damage doesn't reset to zero. And every time you stack another concussion on top of it, the damage increases exponentially, right? If I was a super nerd, I would say it's like a permanent damage weapon in a D&D campaign. You get hit, and now for the rest of that fight, every time you take a hit, you take an additional 2 points of necrotic damage. And there's nothing you can do to stop it except stop that fight. And that's pretty much the case here, right? That is what Nowitzki said the case was. So Tua is obviously a special case. We see every couple of weekends in football, somebody else gets KO'd on the field and has that fencer's position. But Tua is a special case because we have now seen it with our own eyeballs, the Ray Rice effect. Seeing something with your own eyeballs increases the severity of that incident in your mind, right? It was one thing to hear Ray Rice hit his girlfriend in front of an elevator. It was another thing when we all had to watch it. It increases the severity in our eyeballs. So I take a guy like Tua, who is obviously committed to returning, has said he will not wear a guardian cap, which are now proven empirically to decrease the likelihood of a brain injury. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to keep it a buck. I had a conversation once with a friend of mine in the hockey world. Because I've said I have zero idea how it is when I go call hockey games and I see these dudes that walk around and they're missing their front teeth because they took a hockey puck to them and then they just leave it. And it's like, who the hell needs teeth? I'm a hockey player, right? I've said, I don't care. You can call me every name of every biological body part that you want. If I was a hockey player, I'd have the full face cage, because I do not want to take a rock off the noggin. And that's an inevitability if you play hockey. So I am absolutely a dude, and you can question my manhood or whatever you want. 100% I'd be wearing a guardian cap. Why would you not? Why would you not? And Tua says, no, I'm not going to do it. And I can only assume, since he refused to go into why, I can only assume the answer is it doesn't look cool. I got to tell you what doesn't look cool, Tua. You laying on the field with those Tyrannosaurus Rex arms in the air because you have lost the motor function because your brain just got knocked around inside the cage.
All right, we don't know that that's the reason. I mean,
I said I'm assuming.
Yeah. One thing I'm curious about the Guardian caps is how much more weight they put on a helmet.
Somebody said they're only like a handful of ounces. You're an NFL player. If 12 ounces changes the way that your head swivels, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I mean, to a degree, I think it will bother you because you know your body, you know what the weight of everything is.
According to the NFL, they weigh between 12 and a half and 14 ounces, which is less than a pair of MMA gloves weighs.
I think you would still notice. But I do. When you move your head around and things like that. I'm just saying that could be part of the factor. More than likely, it's what you said. More than likely, it's what it looks like. I've only seen one game where I saw a guy wearing one, and I can't remember what game it was.
There are 2 or 3 members of the Colts. There's at least 2 members on the Buccaneers defense. There's at least 2 members of the Jaguars that are wearing. I'm not saying it's live. There's probably 24 NFL players around the league wearing them. Well, and they are concentrated in groups.
The thing is, if they do protect the way they say they do, then they should just make it mandatory that everyone has to wear them.
I would suspect that at some point in the future they will.
Yeah, because then you don't have a choice.
But just like everything else, this is something that will have to go into a CBA down the line.
He is. I mean, he's an adult. He can make his own decisions. If the doctors clear him and he still wants to play, that's up to him. Remember, I mean, we've seen players like Luke Kuechly who could not play any other way than the way he played. Asked Ron Rivera one time, can you slow him down? He's like, no, that's just how he is, how he's wired, and he is going to go in head first every time. And you see, he had to end his career early. If I remember right, Troy Aikman, Steve Young, there have been guys, especially in the quarterback position, who've had to end their career early. But in the end, it was their decision. And even if we don't think it's a good decision, it's up to him.
Yeah, as Samuel L. Jackson once famously said, given that it's a stupid-ass decision, I have elected to ignore it. That's kind of what this is. And especially for Tua Tagovailoa. Like, if you're a guy who's been in the league 3, 4, 5 years, you've got your game, you've developed it, and you've never had a head injury, at least I can understand that, right? Like I will tell you that when I bought my motorcycle, for the first probably year that I bought my motorcycle, and I acknowledge I was dumb, I was also like 27, 28, all right? Old enough to not be this dumb, but young enough to be that dumb. I didn't wear a helmet when I rode my motorcycle. I was too cool. I had too good of a hat collection to wear a motorcycle helmet. And then a buddy of mine, Matt Drake, dear friend of Matt Drake, so he makes Fat Boy look like a small dude. This dude is countrified, all right? This dude is thick with multiple C's.
Is it like Perk next to Wendy?
This is former Marine, and now he's a big boy thick. All right. This is a scary dude. Nicest guy in the world. He's a teddy bear, but he's a big, sturdy. You could hit this guy with a baseball bat and he'd laugh at you, kind of thick. All right. And he, on his motorcycle, got hit by a car going about 7 miles an hour in a parking lot, knocked him off the bike. He rattled his brain off the back of the head, off the back of the back of his head in concrete, split his head open, had to be life flighted to an emergency room to get put back together. And to this day, still has some effects, some effects with cognitive function and motor control as a direct result of that accident. Now your boy not only wears a helmet, but wears a very expensive one that is the full wraparound chin strap. Every bit of my head is covered by multiple levels of padding helmet. Because I'm not going to stop riding. That's my choice. The safe, responsible thing would be get off a motorcycle. I'm not going to do that. That's my personal choice. I'm absolutely wrapping the most important organ in my body in as much padding as I can. So I don't understand that. Fine with him continuing to play. I don't like it. I'm not super excited about watching it because it feels an inevitability that at some point I'm going to watch Tua on the ground with those T-Rex arms again, and I don't want to see it. And I certainly don't want to see it, and he doesn't recover from that. But this whole, because like I said, Zoe might be right. Maybe the 12 ounces of padding on the noggin change his game so much that he just can't get through it anymore. But realistically speaking, my bet is he just thinks it looks dumb. And I don't know what to say in that spot. I don't know how to argue with that. All of that being said, Grayson McCall, NC State quarterback, he got carted off the field last Wednesday with a head injury, retired yesterday. Said, that's it, I'm done. The bell got rung. I felt it. I still feel it. I'm out. I'm proud of Grayson McCall for making that decision. Going, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Because Grayson McCall was a potential NFL draft pick, but he said not at the risk of, anything else. All right, we'll talk more about this later in the show. It's the Rob Brown Show. It's the Fan Upstate. No, I agree, April. That's why I'm uncomfortable with this whole thing. Again, his decision, his life, whatever. But I don't have to like it.
But at the same time, he could go throughout the rest of his career and never get another concussion.
Maybe so, but if I asked you to bet a paycheck on it.
I wouldn't do that, but it's still a possibility that he could go uninjured as far as concussions go the rest of his career. I just sent you something on Twitter I thought you would be interested in.
Yeah, I did see that.
I didn't look and see if they were coming anywhere near here, though.
I don't think they were. I looked at it yesterday, but I only skimmed over it. I also would be interested in seeing, what campaign or if anything, what they're doing. Or if it's, because, if I was them, I would just do one shots. They are doing Chicago, Sydney, Melbourne, Indianapolis, and New York City are the ones they've mentioned so far.
So only big towns.
But I also know they also, as individuals, go to Comic-Cons all over the country. They don't do shows. They just go as, the actors and whatever.
If they show up at Charlotte or Atlanta, might be worth going to.
I want to hang out with Travis. I feel like me and Travis would be boys.
Have you ever thought that and then went and hung out with someone and found out you were completely wrong?
I'm sure I have, and I'm trying to think of who. I'm trying to think. I know there's got to have been people in the, in the media world that's happened with, but I'm having a hard time recalling that.
Down you rinse and refresh. Break it up with stinky clothes.
I'm curious about that, Mason. I'm also curious about the fact that some of these guys have the same helmet, or at least the same helmet type, throughout college, high school, and the pros, and they don't want to go away from that because there's just a comfort level, fits their head right. And I know I had a really hard time finding the right kind of helmet. Head size has something to do with it, but still.
So continuing this Tua Tagovailoa conversation for a minute, because we've gotten a couple of texts and messages that have come in. John Dog said, let's just put them in bubble wrap. It's their decision. John, did you, respectfully, did you not hear me quite literally open the segment with that? It's his decision. I'm not asking the NFL not to let him play. I'm not asking the Miami Dolphins not to play him. Quite the opposite. If Tua Tagovailoa wants to continue his football career, it is his decision and only his decision. I'm not asking for him to be banished from the league. What I am saying is, as a fan, I'm going to be uncomfortable watching him. Every time a defender gets anywhere near Tua Tagovailoa, I'm going to turn my head away from the... I'm on X. I get some messed up videos on Twitter because I'm a messed up person. You ever seen the videos where somebody's leg snaps when they're kicking something? Or somebody's doing the arm wrestling and their forearm just snaps and it goes the wrong way. I the other night in the Tampa-Baltimore game, when Chris Godwin got his ankle rolled up on and you could see it pop out of the joint and turn over the wrong way. Yo, I don't think you understand when I tell you I was in my gaming chair in the bro cave and I swung the chair away so my back was to the TV until I knew they weren't showing that replay anymore. I ain't down for that, all right? And now every time Tua Tagovailoa has a defender get a hand on him, I'm going to do that because I don't want to see it happen to him again, all right? I'm not saying take him out. I'm not saying put him in bubble wrap. I'm not one of these, why don't you put skirts on him kind of guys. What I'm saying is I am somebody who is a big believer in science. And when you have neurologists, brain surgeons who literally dedicate their entire life to studying the impact of this stuff that are willing to get on the radio and go, yeah, it doesn't get better. The absolute optimal outcome here is Tua Tagovailoa never hits his head again. And he just, his new line is the baseline. That's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is Tua takes another one. Because, oh, by the way, another empirical data point. Once you suffer a concussion, concussions become exponentially more likely. Once you have your first concussion, it's a hell of a lot easier to give you your second. A hit to the noggin that may not cause a concussion before you get your first concussion will cause a concussion after you get your first concussion. That's proven. That's proven. So it's not about put them in bubble wrap or put them in a skirt or play flag football. I think some of y'all get real carried away with the hyperbole when it comes to that. No one's suggesting that. What is being suggested is, hey, guy who we have watched lose motor control of his body multiple times on the football field, maybe add 12 ounces of padding to your head so that doesn't happen again, or at least becomes a little less likely for it to happen. And here's what I'll say is, as I pointed out in the last segment, when Tua Tagovailoa says, I'm not going to wear a Guardian cap.
Would you wear a Guardian cap?
Nope.
Why?
Personal choice.
Okay, I mean, he's right. It's his choice. It's my choice. Well, it's my choice in some states. In this state, it's not North Carolina. Learn that. In this state, it's my choice as if I want to wear a motorcycle helmet or not. It's also my choice to call you a dumbass if you don't. Why would you not? And if he's going to say it's my choice, I am left with only one option, which is to go with, oh, he must think it looks dumb. There are literally players who have come out when asked about it and straight up said, I don't want to wear it. It looks ridiculous. There are also players that have come out and said, I don't care how it looks. I got kids. I would like to be able to go to my kid's wedding one day and not be drooling in the corner. I would like to be able to see my kids graduate from college and not have to have somebody giving me food through a feeding tube when we get to that point in my life. But I still want to play football. Do you see the difference there? When I got guys like Grayson McCall, who suffered his third or fourth head injury, because remember he had to leave last year because of that injury. Took one, had to be carted off the field last Wednesday. He comes out yesterday and says, "I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. It's impacting me. I'm out." And then I got guys at the next level going, "Those helmets look stupid." Yeah, it just cost Grayson McCall his career. Just cost him his career. You have the right to do what you want. Nobody has the right now, though I could absolutely see it sometime down the line being a negotiating point for the NFL. We want you in Guardian caps. We want every player, all 53 on all 32, to rock a Guardian cap because it is proven now, even if insignificantly, it is proven now that they help to reduce the chances of brain injuries. How is that a bad thing? Texas said the way he talks, he is either in denial or he already has significant damage affecting his decisions. That's from Chris. Look, I am not a neurologist. I am not a brain surgeon. I'm an idiot on a microphone who thinks offensive coordinators are important. That's all I am. Just a joke. However, so I'm not going to finish that thought. So I'm not going to sit here and try to diagnose the decision-making process of Tua Tagovailoa. But yeah, I would say if he was my friend, if me and Tua were boys, I would say to Tua Tagovailoa, if you put more soft stuff on your head, you're less likely to get hurt. There's an old joke. You know who Mitch Hedberg is, the old comedian? Passed away a number of years ago. One of my favorite comedians of all time. He made a joke once about buying Dr. Scholl's insoles. And he said, I don't think you need to go to medical school to find out that if you put pillows in your shoes, they're softer. He told the joke better than I do because I am famously not Mitch Hedberg. But that's kind of the point. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to know that if you wrap more padding around your head, you're less likely to hurt your head. So it's his choice. It's his decision. I am going to second guess it. I am going to ask questions about it. I am going to ask him, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure that's the right decision? But ultimately, if he decides to play this Sunday or next Sunday or 2 months from now, if you don't want to wear a cap, I'm not going to be the guy that says, no, you should. You have to. I will say you should, but you have to. Texture said, Rob, is the Guardian cap 12 to 14 ounces heavier than a normal helmet or just 12 to 14 ounces and thus not much heavier than a normal helmet? It is 12 to 14 ounces in weight itself. And by the way, because I, during the break, was curious, I went and I looked it up. Guardian Sports, who make the Guardian caps, on their website, they claim the Guardian caps weigh 7 to 8 ounces total. Like the cap weighs 7 to 8 ounces. So it may be, and again, I'm going to do more research on this. It may be that a helmet with a Guardian cap is closer to the 15 ounces. I don't think that's right. I think helmets are a little heavier than that. Although I will say, it's been a very long time since I put on a football helmet, and you can see the tech increase in these helmets with the new designs and the all of these things, like the new ones that I think Zeke wears, one that have the more flat face mask. You seen that? They look like a motorcycle helmet, right? Like the face mask is more low profile. It's more in line with actually the roof of the helmet. It goes more straight down. My understanding is the reason for that is so that when a player goes into the turf head first, right, like face first, when you have the more high profile face mask that sticks out from the front of the helmet, if you hit on the face mask, you will roll forward, and that can actually pull your neck forward. It can actually pull that neck forward and create more problems. Whereas with the lower profile face mask, if you, like a running back does a time or two a game, if you go face mask first into the ground, now since it's one flat surface, your neck's not going to roll forward and get yanked forward and create stress on the neck. So the tech is there. I know helmets are lighter than they've ever been. I don't know what the total weight of a helmet and a Guardian cap is. What I do know is 12 ounces ain't that heavy if it's the difference between you and concussion number 5, which is more than the number of concussions that Chris Novinsky says begins to create lifelong issues cognitively. That's kind of the point for me. So I don't know, man. Like I said, it really is, and I will acknowledge that to some degree. I'm selfish like this, right? To some degree, I'm selfish like this. But just for the sake of comfort of watching Tua Tagovailoa, right? Like it just feels like the right thing to do would be stick an extra pillow around your noggin. Texas said, Rob, thank goodness the helmets are more advanced than they were when I played in high school. Yeah. So I don't know how it worked when you went through. When I went to high school and I got fitted for equipment, you went into the equipment room where the team-owned helmets were. And they didn't get like new ones every year, which is rows of helmets that the team owned. And I would go in, and the coach, just a coach, would pull you over, and he would say, try this one. And you would put it on. And it would slide on, and then he would grab you by both sides of the head, and he would shake it around to make sure the helmet didn't swivel on your head. And if your head moved with the helmet as he was shaking you as if you were a James Bond martini, if the helmet didn't move and the head didn't move, he went, okay, you're good, get out of here. Yeah, we do better than that now.
So a couple different levels for me, and way back further than you, did that thing. Also, you couldn't wait till you were as a senior at our high school because they had just got bike helmets, not the the goofy stuff that bicycle riders wear, but bike the brand, which were air helmets, so you could pump up the air inside the thing. Which mine was always too tight, and my coach would put a thing in to take the air out, but he never let air out and didn't think I was smart enough to not hear air. When air comes out of something, you can hear it. And
right, Tom Brady?
Then when I got to college, it's still the helmet there. They fit you better. Even in Division III, they fit you better. They work with you and everything. My helmet did not fit right. And I got first knocked woozy coming through a cage by All-American guard. And then I got knocked out because my helmet was too loose and it came down and hit me on the nose, and the impact and everything knocked me out. I don't know that I got a concussion that time, but I got knocked out. So then they worked on fixing my helmet correctly. So I think even at other levels, at least back then, it's still coaches going, yeah, that fits. You stop complaining.
They're not. And again, I have all the.
But I don't think they do that anymore at any level.
Oh no! Listen, I will tell you that one of the things I was most proud of when I lived back at home was we had a kid at a local high school that was a rival of where I went to school. Young man that got hit in the head in a football game and he died. Just happened in Alabama a couple of days ago too. A high school player got hit in the head, went head down into the turf, and he passed away. And after that, a couple of charitable organizations down in Fort Walton, one of which I was a part of, effectively did a gigantic fundraiser and put together enough money that we were able to have an equipment company send down a neurologist that worked for them to fit every player for a customized helmet for their head, their head shape, their structure, whatever, to increase the safety. It is something that is becoming more common, though again, and this is another part of it, I have said a gazillion times, and I'm not walking away from this. It is not a professional athlete's job to be your child's role model. It is not. If they want to go act a fool and say dirty words and do whatever, it's their right as an adult to do it. It is not their job to parent your child. That's your job. But I also know when guys like Tua Tagovailoa and other players are saying, hey, these safety measures that help you not die, they don't look cool. You think that's going to you think it's going to make it easier?
He didn't say that.
I know he didn't. As I've said multiple times and will say again, I am working on an assumption here because I would assume that. And again, I am not trying to make an ass out of you and me, though I do it regularly, more the me than the you. If there was a reason that Tua Tagovailoa doesn't want to wear a cap that was football related, I'd bet he'd say it. Hey, I put one on in a practice and I just felt like I couldn't whip my head left to right to go through my progression as quickly as I could without it. And I feel like if I'm in a spot where there's even a 1/10 of a second delay in getting my head from receiver 1 to 2, from the X to the Y to the Y to the Z and the Z back to the X, it's going to decrease my ability to succeed as a quarterback. At least I'd go, that's a reason. But let me go ahead and get myself in trouble. When somebody says personal preference, more often than not, what that means to me is I don't understand it, I don't like it, or I don't think it looks cool. And that's it. That's it. When somebody says personal preference, not every time, maybe there is a truly good reason you don't want to give me, but I'm not exactly asking Tua to model naked on national television. I'm asking you to put a soft thing on your head, right? That's just kind of how it goes. Texter says, Rob, I don't understand why all players aren't made. I wonder why the entire helmet isn't made like a Guardian cap. I'm no project engineer, though. Again, down the line, I could see the NFL in a collective bargaining agreement if and when it's already sustained that these things decrease the amount of head injuries. If it gets to the point where it's a statistical significance and the NFL knows that down the line they have to start paying out to players who have CTE and long-term head injuries, it'll become a negotiating point. It'll become a demand on the table for the NFL. Texture says from Guardian Cap's website, a standard Guardian Cap weighs around 7 ounces. However, the Guardian Caps used by NFL players are heavier because they are made with an extra layer of padding. These caps weigh between 12.5 and 14 ounces. Okay, so an NFL Guardian Cap, thank you very much, Texture. Good research. Guardian Cap, 12.5 to 14 ounces. Wearing the weight.
Almost twice as much as what you were saying earlier.
No, the initial answer I gave was 12.5 to 14, but I didn't know if that was the cap and the helmet or just the cap. Turns out it is just the cap. Effectively, you can decrease the odds of your brain spinning circles in your head for the price of wearing the weight of a can of soda on top of it. I would do that. I don't care if you think I look dumb. I don't care if you want to call me a because I'm wearing one. You know what the difference is between me and you? I'll be able to say words when I'm 70. And Lulu Kesin from the Greenville News talks Gamecock football with us next. Rashad Beard at 8:40. Hatin Ask Mario at 9. Fight Club at 8:20. Sports Flash now.
And yes, to the people who are asking, the blows to the head do affect my reading ability. Indiana outpaced Detroit 115-109 last night. Atlanta took down Brooklyn 120-116. Orlando outlasted Miami 116-97. Milwaukee down Philly 124-109. Cleveland beat Toronto 136-106. New Orleans beat Chicago 123-111. Memphis beat Utah 126-124. Phoenix over the Clippers 116-113. And the Warriors defeated Portland 139-104. One of the 11 remaining unbeaten teams in college football fell last night as winless Kennesaw State knocked off the Liberty Flames 27-24. The win is the first ever victory over an FBS team for the Owls. Tune in tomorrow at 7 as the Burns Rebels head to Spartanburg to take on the Vikings. It's Burns versus Spartanburg right here on your home for Burns Rebels football. The Fan, Upstate. I don't know why when I do that, the computer works. I'm blaming the government. Good morning. How are you today? I am awesome. Got about a minute. Hang on.
Today we're not just about counting. We are revolutionizing e-biking with blue dot bike.
Actually, Wesley, I don't think that hit hurt me as bad as like several cases of RC Cola. 15 packs hit me on the back of the head in a grocery store and giving me a concussion, which is the last concussion that I'm aware of that I had. And everything slowed down. I mean, it was weird for like a couple of days. It was like when you wake up from anesthesia, it felt like that, and me was driving and stuff when that was going on. New Life, first break.
New Life, first break. Wesley. It is the third hour of the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Rob, the great one, Lonzo, with you as we just steam on through the week and towards yet another football weekend. And I got to tell you, after the last couple of football weekends, on one hand, I assume the South Carolina Gamecock fans are very excited to see their football team take to the pitch one more time again and try to keep the momentum that hath been built a-rolling. On the other hand, I assume the last couple of Saturdays have provided an extraordinary number of heart palpitations to many Gamecock fans after the game against Alabama, after a huge win on the road in Norman, Oklahoma over the Boomer Sooners. Whoa. And getting set on the bye week this week, but before what I think is the true meat and taters of the season with the cult of Texas A&M coming to town next weekend to discuss all of these games, both past and future. From the Greenville News, she covers the Gamecock athletic department for the Greenville News over Columbia, South Carolina. She is the lovely Lulu Kesin joining us here on the show. Good morning, young lady. How we doing?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you? Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you. How's the Thursday on a bye week feel? Nice little break from the last couple of weeks of intensity.
Absolutely. It's like my calm before the storm, because then next week I have A&M, and then I'm going and hopping on a flight to Vegas for women's basketball. And then I come home and there's a Vanderbilt game and NC State for basketball. So it's just, I'm actually taking a little bit of time to breathe right now because there's no media all week.
I respect that. And by the way, Lulu Kesin, before we get to Gamecock football, I was scrolling the Twitter feed earlier. Are you a Boston Celtics fan?
Yes. Okay. Hopefully that doesn't impact my future on the show.
No, you're good. You're fine. I actually am a big Jason Tatum guy. Congrats on the opening night win in the banner lifting, by the way. It just means that, unfortunately, I do have to talk like a little bit of trash to you during the NBA season. Don't take it seriously. I'm a Pelicans fan. I've never won a damn thing in my life.
Hey, that's okay. I'll bring it on.
I like that.
I get it.
I like it. I appreciate it. All right, Lulu Kesin, let us begin with Game Pass. That is Oklahoma last week. The defense just absolutely phenomenal. Couple of tutties right out of the gate. Lenore Sellers had breathing room before he really even had to get the ball into his hands. Nick Emanwuri was phenomenal in this game for a defensive line that had been, pardon the expression, a little bit under fire since the Ole Miss game. on the defensive side of the ball. Did something click? Was something done differently? How did this team come out and dominate Oklahoma right out of the gate like they did?
It was nice to see everything sort of fall into place for the defense, especially because the narrative behind South Carolina's defense kind of all year has been, oh my gosh, they're so good, but, South Carolina hasn't found a way to win. So it was sort of kind of like seeing the defense like get their flowers in a sense, because they actually had a result that allowed everybody to fully dive into how good this defense is performing. I could say that Demetrius Knight telling media a quote that he lives by, which is how you do anything is how you do everything, kind of washed over the defense in my perspective. I felt like South Carolina finally realized that every mistake that they were making week after week, whether that was penalties, whether that was missed tackles, it's all affecting the other. And I think that South Carolina's defense finally was like, all right, we're not letting anything ruin our chances today. And it seemed like Nick Eamon-Wari personally just came out red hot, and that changed the tone of the game going forward.
Was there any conversation on the defensive side of the football, either between the coaches and the players themselves? I mean, you go back to that Ole Miss game, and it felt like, fair or not, a lot of the criticism about that game got dumped onto them. Was there any mentality of we're about to go out there and show everybody that it's not on us, or that we're a better group than we've been made out to be?
Clayton White, the defensive coordinator, is definitely the least emotional of all the coaches we talk to. And I say that in the sense he doesn't necessarily give a ton of perspective into how he feels about the nature of each game or the environment or what the expectations are. He barely would talk about how Kentucky beating Ole Miss is going to affect South Carolina. He kind of just sticks to every week in the SEC is hard. And I respect that. I respect that kind of neutral mindset. But with Oklahoma coming in, I think it was less of, the defense is getting the blame for this, that, the other thing. I think it was more of, hey, how do we continue doing our part to ensure a win, even if we have an offense that is kind of struggling with youth or inexperience or turnovers or whatever it is.
We talked a little bit about it earlier this week. I believe that Lulu Kesin, everything has nuance. Every conversation has nuance. And I think that gets lost in the world of sports sometimes, right? It's always either black or white, up or down, left or right. There is a conversation ongoing, and I had this one yesterday with Denton Day from SiriusXM. I had it on my show last Saturday, of the national conversation seems to be focused in on Oklahoma's not good. Brent Venables isn't good. This team they've rolled out there, Jackson Arnold isn't good. Like this team isn't good, to the point that I said on Monday to South Carolina fans, don't let these conversations, which are going to happen, detract from how impressive this win was. What is your perspective on Oklahoma was overrated, they're not very good, versus South Carolina went out there and just kind of enacted their will on them?
Well, the thing is that both can be true and both can be used to kind of fuel South Carolina's statement or kind of confidence, because if you look at it in the sense, like, South Carolina has struggled against some bad teams this year. Old Dominion week 1 being a good example. I mean, week 4, I think they still had like 8 penalties for a loss of 80 yards or something. South Carolina hasn't played perfect games, and South Carolina will play a horrible game and then almost beat Alabama. So their narrative, I don't think, has been consistent enough to put it all on the Oklahoma game. But definitely I did think Oklahoma was just, I don't want to say worse than I thought, but worse than I thought. I think I went in there thinking that they had a really good in-game coaching, just really good at adjusting. And I felt like South Carolina kind of it was like almost beating a dead horse, which sounds horrible because their mascot's a pony, but it was just a lot. It was very underwhelming. But again, like, people could maybe say that about South Carolina only watching the Ole Miss game. So I think it does go to Shane Beamer's point of, like, every week in the SEC is different, and you never truly know what kind of team you're going to get.
We are talking with Lulu Kesin. She covers the South Carolina Gamecocks for the Greenville News. Joins us every Thursday at 8 o'clock to break down what we saw. Let's talk about the offensive side of the ball, Lulu Kesin, because look, you got a little pillow built for you there by the defense. It kind of felt to me like they were able to play a little more free, a little more comfortable, but I also think you got to talk about the things that maybe didn't go well, even when you have a blowout win like this one. Second half, it really kind of felt like Dow Loggins and company took their foot off the accelerator a little bit and were maybe more playing to burn out the clock and preserve the lead than to go, be bloodthirsty, finish this team off, get to 50 points for the first time in a very long time. What was your perspective on the difference in the offense from the first half to the second half?
I'm glad that you also agree with the kind of perception that Dowell sort of took things slow in the second half. And I'm definitely not trying to make something out of nothing with what Beamer said, but I was a little bit surprised that during an in-game interview and after, Beamer was so critical of the offense in the second half. It made me wonder how much he kind of wanted to keep his foot on the gas and have the offense keep improving in the third and fourth quarter. It just sort of felt like there was a potential, not disconnect there, but I felt like he fully understood what the reporters were asking when we were like, what did you think of the 3 points in the second half? Definitely after that long touchdown Oklahoma scores, the defense I was confident in is not going to let this become a game, but that's a perfect example where I thought I would have seen Dow Loggins be like, okay, our defense gave up a pretty bad, leaky, long touchdown. Let's throw something else at them. Let's try something new. Let's keep going. Let's get our offense, who needs the reps and confidence, to continue going. So I was a little bit, I don't want to say confused or disappointed, because granted, Dow Loggins is the offensive coordinator for a reason and I'm not. But I do agree with the assessment that there did seem to be a sudden drop-off in the offensive intensity from quarter 2 to quarter 3 and 4.
Yeah, it felt to me, and I think Shane kind of alluded to this, and I think you just did as well without maybe going into it, so I will ask you to. The takeaway from me, as much as, look, go score 50, right? Go humiliate them on their turf. For me, it wasn't so much about that, Lulu Kesin, as this is an opportunity where there's not a lot of pressure on you. You've got this nice, comfortable lead. Their offense can't seem to get anything going against your defense. Like, everything's lined up. It felt more like an opportunity to get some reps, to get some experience, maybe to try out some different tactics and concepts that you have not gotten to use in other games where the score was a little more tight. It felt like an opportunity to take advantage of a real-life, full-speed SEC road trip to work on maybe some offensive stuff you haven't gotten a chance to in this season. And instead, it just kind of felt like they fell on the most basic vanilla offense they could. I don't know, man. I feel like if this game was 21-17, I'd be a little bit more comfortable with that. But when it's a blowout win, go out there and try to get better. It just felt like a missed opportunity to me.
Totally. I mean, also, if you take away the 14 points the defense had, it wasn't like Lenoris went off and threw 4 touchdowns in the first half. It was very much the defense carried a lot of the offense to start. So, Dowell's favorite way to describe offense is vanilla. So that's funny you said that. I mean, I know it's common, but still, I just heard Dow Loggins saying that in my head. But I think that definitely, if you look at the end of South Carolina's schedule, they're not. I truly would be shocked if they had anything else close to the score that the Oklahoma game was. And so with 4 games to go to, make something happen, if they actually want to have an 8-win season, and then obviously 2 for a 6-win season, you got to figure out ways to improve the offense when you can. And I did think it was a bit of a missed opportunity in the Oklahoma game, just given the fact that it's probably the last blowout game that they'll have the rest of the season.
We are speaking with Lulu Kesin from the Greenville News here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Got a couple more minutes here, Lulu. You'd mentioned Lenoris Sellers there, and I I scan social media with my life because I like to see what everybody's doing. That's way cooler than my life is. And there was a lot of talk about Lenora Sellers. My perspective has been, you can see the talent, you can see the athletic ability, but it does not feel to me like he is developing at a pace that I would like him to. And I think you did see that a little bit against Oklahoma. On the flip side, you went to Alabama. You probably could have, should have won that game. LSU came to your house, probably could have, should have won that game. And then you went to Norman when Oklahoma was reeling from getting smoked by Texas in their first SEC game against a traditional SEC school. And you mentioned it, like if it wasn't for the defense, Lenora Sellers had a good day, not a great one. What is your perspective on the development of Lenora Sellers now that we're midway through a season where he's QB1? It kind of feels like we're getting to the point where it's his first year at QB1 excuse is kind of coming off the table.
It's valid that excuse is coming off the table. I will say that. And I think Shane Beamer, honestly, has said a couple times, like, hey, they're not freshmen anymore. Like, that excuse is gone. Do I think Lenora has definitely some pretty big areas of improvement that I maybe would have expected him to be better at by, the Oklahoma game? Yes, for sure. But overall, I don't see as much of a slow progression as I feel like some people on social media maybe seeing and that they're like disappointed with. I think Lenoris was always going to be the type of quarterback that is never going to try to make the same mistake twice. And then after the first game, he was like, wow, that was like a lot faster than I thought. So I think in some ways he just wasn't ready for the huge jump. And then he got injured. And then I'll say this, if he was totally healthy the entire season, playing like the way he was playing, 1,000%, I think he'd need to be better by this point. But a lot of it, from my perspective, in my opinion, is rhythm-based, it's experience-based, it's sort of comfort, confidence. And when you're injured and then you play a little bit one week, a little bit the next, none the next, and then you lose Rocket Sanders, and then you're throwing to Mazio Bennett, and then you have an offensive coordinator who's not really throwing the ball. I just think Lenoris is sort of fighting his way through a lot of different factors right now, and I think that's playing into why he's kind of progressing at this slower rate than maybe I would have expected, late August or early August.
All right, Lulu Kesin, last one. It is the bye week, so can't ask you what the Gamecocks do to win this week. Instead, I will ask you, what do you expect to see the Gamecocks spend time dialing in on in the off week, on the bye week, and has Shane and the gang given any indication on what the focus is going to be this weekend without a contest?
Penalties, I know, is still a bit of a focus, even though that they were better. The pre-snap penalties that, quote, make Shane throw up is a focus this week. And I think South Carolina better not come out after their next bye week the same way they did against their first, because that they're in trouble if that's how they perform after an extra week of practice 2 times. But I think preventing, the O-line, not letting Lenoris get sacked every other play, and penalties overall are probably a huge point of emphasis this week.
Discipline and consistency are the 2 words I've been saying all freaking year about this football team. We will find out next week if the discipline and the consistency are there as the Colt comes to town, and that is a big one for Mike Elko and the Aggies, so it will be for Shane Beamer, the Gamecocks as well. Lulu Kesin covers the Gamecocks for the Greenville News. She joins us every Thursday at 8 a.m. Lulu Kesin, happy NBA season, young lady.
Thank you. Go Celtics. Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you next week.
You are the best. Lulu Kesin, you can follow her on X at Lulu Kesin, Kesin. Phenomenal follow if you are a Gamecock fan of all of the Athletics. She's got a bunch of pieces up about Dawn Staley and the women's basketball team that will start to transition into basketball season as we get towards the end of football season. Of course, the Gamecocks need just a couple more wins to become bowl eligible and extend football season another couple of weeks. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about some of the things Lulu had to say. Then we got Rashad Beard at 8:40, Hatin Ask Mario at 9 o'clock, Fight Club at 9:20, and then we call it a day on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
New life.
All right, guys, another live, and we're back. Ooh, excuse me. We're back. We're back. Stay right there. friends, it's Rob Brown. I hope you're enjoying the show. If you're not, I don't know why you're here, but I am glad that you are. Hey, do us a favor. Whether you're enjoying it or not, would you mind sharing us around your social media, please? And thank you, Twitter, X, whatever you call it. I don't care. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it doesn't matter to me. Help us get the good word out. We're trying to get famous and rich, and we can't do it without your help. So, The Rob Brown Show is on all social media, or share the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, wherever you're watching this, and we'd appreciate it very much. Now, let's get back to the show. Stick around. I will say this, and this is something I'm only comfortable saying because I grew up very close to a family of Polynesian descent. It is a warrior culture. It is a fighting culture. And I say that in the most respectful terms. It is a warrior culture. And it is you fight through the pain and the injury kind of culture. And so when you are brought up with that, I think it probably makes it more difficult to put the severity of injuries like Tua's into the perspective of what it can do to you lifelong when you feel as if football is a battle and you are a warrior within it. There's a lot of pride in that. I'm absolutely you keep headbutting that wall till you knock that wall. That's a bad expression to use for this particular conversation. I am a believer that you keep getting up and fighting until you succeed. My old man also instilled in me the realistic point of view of it is important to recognize that there are times for a strategic retreat, the live to fight another day mentality. There's the old, what is it? Stake in the ground. You know where that expression comes from? It's from indigenous people's culture where there was, and I you have to forgive me, I forget which tribe, but there was a tribe where when they went into battle, they would carry a stake with a string attached to it. And when it became obvious that a battle was lost, they would stick that stake in the ground and they would defend the territory of that stake until they were killed. And that's where the stake in the ground concept comes from. There's a time that you pull that stake up and you retreat, because by retreating and leaving that scenario, you give yourself a chance to succeed in another. And what I don't want is Tua to go out on a shield, as the expression goes. Matt, it was my pleasure, bud. It was my pleasure. Mason's awesome. Glad I got to meet him too. Even if he did talk smack directly to my face, I respected it immensely. But yeah, shoot me an email. See if we can hook something up. The board in the Clippers' new arena has one. Where'd it go? It has 1 acre of screen size. 1 acre of television screen.
Why are they measuring in an acre?
Because acre sounds impressive.
It does, but
I also don't know how big is an acre. An acre is 43,550 square feet. How large is an acre visually? The closest thing to an acre visually is a football field.
An acre in a football field?
Roughly. Lulu Kesin from the Greenville News last segment. Appreciate her time as we do every Thursday at 8 a.m. Phenomenal insight as she covers that team live and in living color in Columbia, South Carolina. A couple of things she brought up in that interview. She said that Shane Beamer said in an interview that the penalties, the quantity of penalties make him, quote, sick. I get it. One of the uncomfortable truths about a team like a South Carolina, and they are not alone or unique in this, but one of the uncomfortable truths, when you are a middle-of-the-pack program, fair to say South Carolina is squarely in the middle of the pack in the SEC right now? Is that fair?
They are now.
Yeah, I mean, with the win over Oklahoma, certainly.
Yeah, earlier you would have to say bottom half.
Yeah.
Or bottom fourth or third or something.
I think it is fair to say in the SEC, South Carolina squarely in the middle of the pack. They are 2-3 in conference play. That places them above 1-2 Ole Miss, 1-3 Oklahoma, 1-4 Kentucky, 0-4 Auburn, 0-4 Mississippi State. They are a half a game behind 2-2 Florida, 2-2 Arkansas, 2-2 Alabama. A full game behind, though it's because they have played 2 fewer games, Vanderbilt and Texas and Mizzou, who are all 2-1, 3 games behind 3-1 Tennessee, 4 behind 4-1 Georgia. And then, of course, the 2 teams that are at the top of the pack, granted, have not played as many conference games so far, are 3-0 LSU and 4-0 Texas A&M, a.k.a. the Colt. One of the uncomfortable truths of being a team that is a middle-of-the-pack team, and this is true about college football, high school football, the NFL, is that there is a 0% tolerance margin for undisciplined football. 0%. You are not a team that is good enough to make mistakes and also win tough games. You're not. When you are a team that is as talented as a Georgia and Ohio State, etc., you just by default have a little bit more margin of error. You have a little bit more room in terms of what you can give up. When you have a bona fide, certified superstar like an Ashton Jeanty for Boise State, you have a little bit more room for error. You have a little bit more room that you can give up in terms of undisciplined play, etc. South Carolina doesn't have that. And so that when you get to undisciplined, remember, go back to that Ole Miss loss. Discipline was the number one issue that I brought up the next week. And you can say, as Lonzo did, and looks like maybe he was correct, it's just a bad game. And it was. It was. They didn't play well. And they came out the next week and they went to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where I thought they were going to get blown out by 50, and they played good disciplined football. Better disciplined football. And they were right there in a position to win against a team that is respectfully just better than them. Then they went out to Norman, Oklahoma to play a team that is very much on par with them, played good disciplined football, won the game. Discipline was my number one concern coming out of that Ole Miss game. If this team cannot get more disciplined, if this team cannot find it in itself to cut out the stupid mistakes, and more importantly, cut out the completely unnecessary mistakes. You know, if you get up and you simulate emptying a chamber out of a machine gun into a downed opponent, you're catching 15. You know that. That's not so you shouldn't have been surprised by that. It seems they have cut those things out. By and large, it seems they have cut those things out. And the question mark for me is, and Lulu said during the break there, the bye week concern, the bye week objective for this team off the bye is to improve that. It is to be better, not just at the mental mistakes during play, snap to snap, whistle to whistle, but between them as well. And I absolutely think that is the proper thing to focus on if you are Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks. I like hearing that. Texter said, I got to get the beat button ready. If Sellers doesn't fumble against LSU and Alabama, we win both of those games. I don't disagree. And that's why I said to Lulu Kesin in the last segment, I think that, at least for me, and this may not be true for all of you, it is a subjective opinion. But I think for me, it's his first year as QB1 reason, and I'll even let you call it a reason, not an excuse. It's off the table. We're halfway into the season now, okay? The mental mistakes got to go away. The interception that he threw on what turned out to be the last offensive play of the game for South Carolina on the road at Alabama, that can't happen. That mistake, that throw can't happen. You got to put that thing 9 rows out of bounds over a receiver's head, so you got another shot, even if it is a desperation, another shot. That's a freshman mistake. I was willing to let that one pass because I'm going, not only is he in his first year as QB1. Let's forget the fact that he was on the team and played last year. It's his first full season as QB1. The entire program is pointed in his direction. Sure, I'm good with all of that. We're halfway into the season now. That game was on the road against Alabama, against a good team, a desperate team, a hungry team, in front of their fan base that was raucous and rabid that day because of the L to Vanderbilt. That can't happen. And this is why I've said, to me, that's on Shane Beamer. That's on Dow Loggins. That's on the coaching staff for not having developed that kid to where we need him to be. Does he look better against A&M? A team that is going to throw a lot more aggressive defense at you than Oklahoma did, even with Brent Venables there. A&M's got more athletes on the defensive side of the football. Will Lenora Sellers clutch up? Or will he find that ice water in the veins and play his best ball? We're going to find out. Speaking of playing ball, the Carolina Panthers will on the road in Denver against the Broncos. Bo Nix, Sean Payton and the gang. Welcome to Silver and Blue Mile High. We'll talk to Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast about what we expect out of BY as he gets the unanticipated start Sunday when we return on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Now world.
All right, guys, one more live. We're back with Rashad after this. Stay right there. Rashad Beard, what's up, fella?
What's up, guys?
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, good.
Gotten any car accidents lately?
No, I haven't. No, I have not.
Somebody did point out yesterday.
That is too soon and very mean.
Somebody pointed out yesterday, the last time the Panther quarterback got into a car accident, they went to the Super Bowl the next year.
Yeah, there was a lot of that going around the last time this and last time that. I'm ready for this time. Let's get to this time.
I'm just guessing that's probably not happening this time. At least
No.
not this year. I mean,
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate, the final 20 minutes of hour number 3, an hour left to go after that. We'll talk to Hatin Mario Herron from the BetQL Network about the NFL news from the last couple of days. It has been a very, very busy at 9:20. Fight Club with the great one, Lonzo. We'll talk boxing, MMA, and professional wrestling before we get to any of that, as we do every Thursday at 8:40 a.m. We take a short ride up the road to Charlotte, North Carolina, and talk to the host of the Panther Nation podcast, without a doubt, destination numero uno for all things silver and blue ball, the legendary Rashad Beard in the house like he is every Thursday. What up, big fella?
What's going on, guys? All is well here. All is well.
I'm glad to hear it, man. I'm glad to hear it. Let's jump right in and start with last week. It wasn't it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun at all.
No, not fun at all. It's about what I expected. It's what I called on this show. I called a nice little shellacking from the Washington Commanders, and that's exactly what happened. Don't got the guys on defense. Offensively, not good, especially when you're going up against a good Washington Commanders defense. Things look different when you go up against talent, and that's what we did. We went up against some talent on Sunday, and it wasn't very good. Not a good showing from Andy Dalton. Not a good showing from the offense. Not a good showing from the defense across the board. Outplayed, outcoached. We looked like we did not belong, and so it wasn't fun. I cut it off about the third quarter and then jumped back on as soon as I saw Bryce enter the game. So it's just not fun watching Panthers football right now.
We're going to come to BY here in a minute because obviously there was some news yesterday that Dave Canales brought to us. But let's start with you, Rashad. I'm curious about you. I know the mindset is we want to be competitive, we want to be improving, we want the upward trajectory, et cetera, et cetera. And yes, to all of those things. How do Sundays work for you when you've got the litany of injuries you guys have right now? When you know you've got a career backup as QB1. Listen, I respect Dalton coming out and getting the win against the Raiders, but there's a reason he's a backup for the Carolina Panthers right now. When you got all these things going on, how do you maintain sanity when you tune in for a Panther game on Sunday, knowing that the goal is be better for 2025?
Yeah, that's such a great. I'm glad you asked me that because that's a great question. Because it's not fun, and it's one thing I like to just not take for granted the game of football, right? Like I don't like when football is not being played, right? So over the summer you don't have any football. So the fact that I have some sort of Panthers football, my team to watch, I do enjoy it. Unfortunately, the product on the field is not good, but I do like the fact that I have Panthers football to watch. So that's kind of where I am from a mental standpoint. But it's not fun seeing your team getting dog walked week in and week out. It's not fun. It's just not fun. And, I'm hopeful that eventually we'll get things on the winning track sometime soon. But it's not fun to answer your question. Not fun at all.
It's to me, sometimes you got to move pardon the expression, you got to move the goalposts a little bit, right? Like sometimes you got to realize football's cyclical. There are just going to be seasons of your life where the Super Bowl ain't a reality. All right. And clearly this is it. And so in order to keep myself entertained, I got to have a new set of objectives, right? I know the Saints ain't going to the Super Bowl. I'm going to fist fight Dennis Allen on sight if I ever see his punk ass walking around. So for me, I came into the year with the objectives of maybe win the South, right? Be competitive, take down Atlanta twice. Like what are you doing to make that happen? Is it just like, do you have particular objectives? Are there things I want to see BY do this? I want to see Dave Canales do this? Or is it just a matter of I want to end every game on Sunday and be able to write down 3 things that we did okay?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't have any expectations for this team, to be honest. I don't want to set myself up for any kind of failure because anytime I've done that, they have failed me miserably. So I don't have really any real measurable goals that I would like to see from this team. I do want to see the young guys, get better. I want to see Jonathan Brooks, right? I want to see what he looks like when he's healthy. I want to see Xavier Legette go out there and do work and put good work in. Jalen Coker, these young guys that are going to be around the team for a long time. I want to see those guys develop. Trevin Wallace, the draft class. We broke it down on our last show is that this draft class has a little bit to it. If you look past everything else in the wins and losses, this draft class is not bad. And it's something that we could potentially build on. So that's something I'm looking forward to. I would like to see Bryce in the year as the starter. I want to see whether he's going to be. Again, I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying people keep jumping on me every time I say I want to see Bryce Young. And I'm not saying that because I think he's the guy. I'm saying that because I want to see the guy. We brought in a QB whisperer, a guy that fixes quarterbacks. I want to see if he can actually get something from Bryce Young. This is the reason why you were hired. I want to see if Bryce Young, we traded all these resources to get him. I want to see if we can get something out of it, right? I'm not saying he's going to be the guy, but let's at least try to see if he can develop and show us something by the end of the year. So by then we can know whether to move on or not. So, but outside of that, that's really it. I don't have any expectations.
Speaking of Bryce Young, going to get the start. Andy Dalton in a car accident earlier this week, according to Dave Canales yesterday, sprained his thumb, meaning he will sit this week and BY gets back out there. I'm glad you said that, Rashad. And here's the thought that I had when you were answering that question. You brought in Canales to be the quarterback whisperer to develop Bryce Young. And there are a lot of folks out there, I'm sure there are some in the chat right now, that fully believe that Dave Canales at the end of this year is going to go to David Tepper and go, that's not my guy. This isn't the guy I want to work with. I want my guy, whether we got to draft him, trade for him, whatever, and that's all well and good. But I still think in order to show me that you were the right hire, you got to show me, even if he's not going to be your guy next year, you got to show me development of BY. Now that dude's been on the bench for 5 weeks, hadn't had that pressure on him, hadn't had people dropping macho man verbal elbows on him on social media all week or all month and a half long now. What's the expectation for BY this weekend?
I mean, it's tough, man. I feel bad for him. The shuffle, the in and out, the whether you're guy, they're not the guy. Listen, don't turn the ball over. Be confident. Trust what's in front of you. Go out there and execute. We keep talking about we have good practices, and then you come out and we lay an egg. Just be you, Bryce. We've seen like glimpses of it. It hasn't been shown in the entire game. Just go out there and do you, man. The pressure's basically off, right? I mean, it's still there, but kind of not. Like, you can go out there and be you, man. The expectation is that we're gonna move on anyway. So just go out there and ball out, bro. Like, we've seen you do it in college. Just go out there, and you have nothing else to lose at this point. Just go out there and make it happen, and that's really all I want to see from him.
Tell you what I saw on social media, and I don't know if you'll have any comment on it or not. You're welcome to. I was scrolling social media the last couple of days, really the last 24 hours since the Dalton accident, and there were a ton of Panther fans who were posting old clips of Bryce Young. I'm talking about BY from his Bama days. I'm talking about BY from, last year early in his Panthers tenure when my man was coming up into the locker room and he's hyped and he's got energy and he's loud and he's yelling and he's talking or whatever. And a lot of Panthers fans were like, this is the cat I want to see again. This is a guy that can succeed. This is the guy I want to see start to break out a little bit. It almost felt like over the last 5 weeks, especially with how poorly last week went for the Panthers, Rashad Beard, that people are kind of warming back up to the idea of maybe Bryce Young is that guy. Maybe he can be him. Man, I can't help but personally, not as a guy who thinks he is or isn't the guy, but just personally, I really kind of want to see him ball out and just give us a glimpse of there he is. That's the guy.
Yeah, I mean, that would be nice, man. We've seen, like I said, we've seen it, man. We've seen it from Bryce Young. We know what he's capable of. And like I said, I feel bad for him under the circumstances. You come in here, you got your first year coach is fired and all this other turmoil surrounding your play. And I just would like to see him go out there and play well, man. Like I said, the pressure's completely off. Go out there, do you. And, man, if you can get a dub, cool. But if not, man, at least get a W for yourself and your confidence. And that's what I'm looking for for Bryce, man.
All right, so you're on the road. You're at Denver. This Denver team's real interesting and I think you and I have talked about this. Bo Nix looks a little better, and I gave him credit for being at the pro level. I really thought this dude was going to be an absolute flame out, playing well enough under Sean Payton. Denver's found some dudes in the defensive backfield that made throwing the ball against them a little bit dangerous. New Orleans found that out. We got embarrassed last Thursday night by this team. This is a better Denver Broncos team than we thought it were going to be. They're not going to be competing for the division or anything, but they can be dangerous if you make a couple of mistakes. To me, this feels like a game that I just want to see clean football from Carolina. I'm not even really worried about the score. Go execute, have your blocking scheme down, run crisp routes, give BY the best chance you can give them to succeed. And that's really the only thing I'm looking for on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, Denver's a tough team, man. They're well coached. I mean, everybody has their opinions on Sean Payton, but he got has those guys willing to play. And I brought that up last week. When you talk about Denver and you look at how they're built, they had a new owner too that nobody's talking about, right? New ownership, new coach brought in, very similar to the Carolina Panthers, and you see the trajectories of both teams, right? This Denver team is competitive. Nobody's saying they're going to go out there and win the Super Bowl, but at least they're competitive week in and week out. And Denver is what I aspire for my team to be, right? I want my team to look like Denver, right? Nobody's saying Bo Nix is the man, he's the future MVP, but at least they got something to work with. And so, again, I just want us to go out there, execute, play good competitive football. Let's not get blown out, and let's make it a game, man. Again, that's where I've been all season, ever since Bryce got benched initially. Let's just go out there, be competitive. We got a little glimpse of it against the Raiders, won that game, and since then it's flamed out. Let's get back on track, and let's get at least competitive again.
Yeah, I think to me this weekend, you're worried about the scoreboard. It's an NFL game. These boys got pride, all right? They got pride. They don't want to go out there and get dog walked for sure. But if I am, and Lonzo, when I had this conversation earlier, like fans look at the scores and the numbers and they just want to see it there. To me, I am at a point now where I'm looking at, I want to be able to come in here on Monday and write down 10 things that I saw and say, these 10 things definitely got better week to week. Because to me, I don't care about wins and losses the rest of this year. I care about, are we ready for 2025? And it sucks as a fan because that's an entire year of my life that I'm not getting what I want, but I got to make this sure this team, if I'm in charge of it, is ready for next year because this year don't matter no more.
All right, what does Bryce Young have to do to keep the job if Andy Thumbs gets better? Because it's a sprained thumb. It's going to get better in another week or so.
Yeah.
What's he got to do to play the rest of the year?
Not turn the football over, number one. Protect the football, right? Not make the dumb interceptions, not the pick sixes. I mean, Andy is guilty of that too. But I think not turn the football over, get it to your playmakers, right? And I think it plays hand in hand. We're talking about what Bryce needs to do. I'll push back on that and say, what does Canales need to do to make sure Bryce is successful, right? Run the football. You got Chuba Hubbard. You're going to get Jonathan Brooks back. Let's get these guys going. Like, even with Andy Dalton at quarterback, we're still only running the football with Chuba Hubbard 18, 15 times per game. That's not enough. Run the football and protect Bryce Young from himself, essentially. And I think Bryce will be okay. I think, again, it works hand in hand. Canales has to also work with Bryce and protect him as well.
Rashad Beard, host of Panther Nation podcast. You can follow them on X at Panther Nation PC. More importantly, head on over to the YouTube channel, Panther Nation Podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn the bell on because the boys are live all the time. even when you check in on Sunday for the reaction. And it just, you need me to send you some more glasses with a little darker lenses, Rashad, so people can't see the sadness in the eyes?
Yeah. It gets a little ugly on Sundays sometimes, so I apologize in advance. But the good news, though, and you talked about 2025. We will have mock draft Mondays coming back. So that's going to be a good look. It's going to be fun. We're turning the page, too, just like the Carolina Panthers should be.
Hey, I'll see you next up at the bank next weekend, right? Right? We still going to get together?
Absolutely. Let's make it happen.
I like it. Maybe a little 5-minute.
I might need more than one shot this go around.
Bro, I don't know if you watch my team. We got run out of our own house by the same team you play this weekend, my man. We might skip the game and just be watching it at a bar because that's the only way we're getting through it at this point.
That's a very good point.
Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast joins us every single Thursday at 8:40 to talk Panther football. We got Hatin Ask Mario for the BetQL Network next. Lonzo's Fight Club after that, after Lonzo's Sports Flash.
The NBA regular season saw a full slate of contests last night, including a 110-105 win over the Houston Rockets by the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball led all scorers in the game, recording 34 with 11 assists and 8 boards. Trey Mann added 24, 11, and 8. Off the bench, the Hornets start the season 1-0. One of the 11 remaining unbeaten teams in college football fell last night as winless Kennesaw State knocked off the Liberty Flames 27-24. The win is the first ever victory. Not even their own team shouts "Go Owls." The win is the first ever victory over an FBS team for the Owls and ends Liberty's 17-game win streak. It's the first time in 23 years a team 0-5 or worse has defeated a team 5-0 or better. Tune in tomorrow night 7 as Burns takes on Spartanburg right here on the Fan Upstate.
What up, dog?
What is up?
What's happening, brother?
Nothing. Not a whole lot. I tried to find a jersey but then I realized they're all in Indianapolis. I have 0 here.
You didn't want to break out a Bulls jersey today?
I thought I had at least one Jordan because I have like 4 of them. I was like, I have 1 here, and I have none here.
We'd just like to point out the final score of last night's basketball contest in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yeah, nice. The 1 year the Bulls are trying to tank, you beat us. Great. Here's a cookie. And you lost to Jonte Murray for extended period of time.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to talk about it. I just wanted to bring up that we won and then not mention it again for the rest of the interview.
No, we can. We can bring it up. Zion looks skinny.
Zion's jacked, bro. I don't know why. I like it's so on brand for Zion to look like he's in the best shape of his life and still not be available to play. Like it's just the most
I know
Zion
that,
thing.
and it's everything. Like people were saying that really close to that team were like, "Oh, he's in the best shape of his life. He looks so good," and then he just doesn't play. It's like the Embiid thing. Like Embiid's lost 30 pounds.
I was gonna say, I literally said to a buddy last night, at least he's not Joel Embiid.
Yeah, that whole.
He's on his way there though.
He is. I do you think this investigation is going to be anything? I don't think it's going to be anything.
Say that again.
The investigation they just launched on him.
The fourth, the final, the best, the money hour. The Rob Brown Show starts right now, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It's the Fan of State. Happy to have you all. I am Rob Brown, the great man Lonzo on the ones and twos this AM. As we have been all around the world of athletic competition so far today, we have talked about the Clippers' new Intuit Center and all of the amenities that come along with a basketball team that still can't win. Good job, James Harden. Appreciate you being James Harden. You keep me entertained, if nothing else. The Charlotte Hornets go on the road, get the first dub of the 2024 campaign over the Houston Rockets. And, of course, I mentioned for no reason other than my own enjoyment and pleasure, the New Orleans Pelicans 1-0 after a win over the Chicago Bulls to open the season last night. Not to talk about that, although we may or may not, we'll find out as our next guest. He is the executive producer of BetMGM tonight, a host and an analyst for the NFL, the NBA, and whatever else we decide to talk about from the BetQL network. Hatin Mario, a.k.a. Mario Herron, joins us every Thursday at 9 o'clock here on the Rob Brown Show. What's up, fella?
I'm recovering from the Bulls loss and just getting prepared. Like the Bulls are going to be absolutely miserable all year. And they're,
Sure.
I call them the Bleacher Report team because every 2 weeks you're going to get a notification from Bleacher Report saying trades incoming. Zach LaVine going to be gone. Vucevic going to be gone. So they're going to be the Bleacher Report team all year long. And so get excited.
Listen. At least those guys aren't Joel Embiid, is all I'm saying. My man said, yeah, not doing bad. I thought Kevin Garnett was going to have an aneurysm the other day on his podcast when he was talking about this. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
And it's like also Joel Embiid, keep some stuff to yourself. Don't say out, you know what I mean? Like, don't say out loud, I don't care about the regular season anymore. I don't care about MVP. I don't care about any of this, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're putting a target on your back. And also, I mean, similar to something similar to the Zion situation, but all we hear all off season is he's so like determined. His head's on straight. He loses weight, lost like 20 to 30 pounds. If you see him like in his workouts, he's skinny, man. Like, he looks like a different guy. And then the first 2 weeks of the season, he's like going to be out. And then the same with Zion, where like he looks jacked, looks great. They're like, oh, this is the most in shape he's ever been. Doesn't even play the first game. But the Joel Embiid, look, the Sixers are playing a dangerous game with him and Paul George. And so far, it's pretty dangerous. That Bucks game didn't look good last night.
We are going to, of course, as we roll on through the football season, also get some NBA stuff in with Mario as the NBA season officially underway with every other team that didn't play on Wednesday or Tuesday night playing last night. But want to stick with the NFL for right now. And obviously the big news this week was DeAndre Hopkins moving from Tennessee up to Kansas City. It's interesting because on one hand, we talked a little bit about this morning, Mario. So I'll let you ask the same question that I asked of our listening audience this AM. DeAndre Hopkins' numbers this year, not real good. But then again, there's also Calvin Ridley, who's a 1,000-yard wide receiver who has like 200 so far this year. Is Calvin Ridley more a 32-year-old wide receiver who's past his prime and therefore not much help to the Chiefs? Or are the Tennessee Titans with Will Levis behind their offensive coordinator, Nick Holtz, just a real bad football team that held DeAndre Hopkins back, and he will be a big help to Kansas City? Which of those, if either, do you think is more true?
Oh, I think he was held back in Tennessee 1,000%. I mean, he had Will Levis and Mason Rudolph throwing him the football, and they expect him to be really good. No, not at all. Like, if you watch every Tennessee Titans game, they're in the game, and then Will Levis goes, "No, I want to lose the game now." And then he makes a boneheaded play, and then they're behind the 8 ball, then they lose the game. He goes over to Kansas City, and whatever we see happen every time someone goes to Kansas City, they find success. They find a good role in the offense. They're open on every play, and they look like a great receiver. You want an example? Juju Smith-Schuster. Holy hell, that guy just looked like he did not have it anymore. Didn't really look like he could be a valuable asset. He goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. Suddenly he's open all the time. Suddenly he's making plays. It's a system that works. It's a system that is very hard to beat in the NFL, and the team that's the best currently just got better. And it was a smart move, in my opinion. Mahomes has, been struggling this year. He's already has 8 interceptions on the year. He's thrown more picks than he has touchdowns. They need help in the passing game. Why not go out and get a guy that's committed to winning right now, that has done it before, and that just really wants one more ring? And, he's going to buy in right away. And at the same time, you don't have to, get a young guy, because your young guy, you already got 2, and Rashee Rice, who's sadly out this year, and then Xavier Worthy. You just need more leadership in there. I think it was a perfect move for the Kansas City Chiefs, and it just shows that they're competing for a championship, and a lot of other teams in their division are just competing.
Yeah, no, I very much concur with that take. I think that I really want Will Levis to be successful because the dude kills me. The mayonnaise cologne over the offseason was one of my favorite stupid offseason stories I've ever seen.
You would.
I love it. It's objectively hysterical. I don't care what you say. But then I got the same dude out there that goes on the field and he's like trying to make Patrick Mahomes style plays with the falling over backwards, flipping it backwards, whatever. Except the difference is Mahomes makes it happen and Will Levis makes me pull my glorious hair up out of my head. It's ridiculous. I want to push that slider over towards the Titans are just that bad. That everybody on that team is being held back by how bad they are collectively. Cooper Kupp was the other variable in this story. Diana Rossetti reported early in the week that the Rams were shopping Cooper Kupp around and were looking for a second-round pick. Got reported yesterday the Chiefs actually were interested in Cooper Kupp and tried to make a move, but didn't want to give up a full second-round pick plus take on a huge chunk of salary. His cap number is like $29 million next year for a guy who is a very good but glorified slot wide receiver. Where, if anybody, do you think Cooper Kupp ends up with, or do the Rams just have to eat that contract?
I mean, it's a tough ask because on top of the contract, you see his age. He's 31. In the last 3 seasons, he's played 9 games, 12 games, and he's only played 2 games this year. So how healthy is he really? Even when healthy, obviously he's a very good football player, but I would look at that and be kind of scared if I was just any team. I know, just doing the Bolt Crew podcast, you can find anywhere you get your podcast. A lot of people, a lot of Charger fans, that's a move that needs to be made. He doesn't have to move. It doesn't barely have to go to a different facility on Sundays. This is a great move. Let's go ahead and do anything we can to get him. But at the same time, I think that asking price slot, that contract is a lot. That age is not where you want it to be. And the injury history is really not where you want it to be. I think it could be the Bucs, the Chargers are in that mix, but at the same time, and I don't know how comfortable I would be trading for a guy. I just really do not know if he's going to be on the field. We just really do not know, And I don't know if I would want to take that risk if I'm trying to win right now. I think the best play if you're in the receiver market is call Tennessee and do anything you can to get Calvin Ridley. I think that's your best option. Or, maybe see if the Panthers are willing to do some business with Deontay Johnson.
Trade deadline just around the corner right now. I was putting together because we're gonna focus on this next week as we move one spot closer to the deadline. But I started building my list of potentials, buyers, and sellers across. I'm going to give you the list of sellers I put together. Tell me if there's anybody that you think, A, should not be on there or won't be on there, and why. I've got Carolina as a seller, Tennessee, Cleveland, New York, Jacksonville, the Rams, and the Dolphins at 2 and 4 as sellers of talent this year. I thought about putting the Patriots on there. I just don't know what they have to sell, so I don't know if it's going to matter. But is there anybody you do or don't like on that list?
Patriots are like if they had a yard sale, but it was like a college house, and everyone's like, no, we do not want a couch that has beer all over it. And someone pissed on it last weekend. Like, no, thanks. That's what they have. I think the New York Giants is a tough sell to me because the moves they made this past offseason would tell me that they wouldn't do anything to, let any of their guys go away. I think they believe that they're building something. So I don't see them selling. I see them just kind of riding out this year with Daniel Jones and just going, all right, we have to do anything we can to get a quarterback. So I don't think they will sell. Dolphins, I don't think so either because I think they truly believe that when Tua is back, they can make a run. Like they look at their division and go, the Jets are in a just toilet situation. Patriots are, 10 years behind everyone. Maybe we can give a Bills the game. Maybe we can take one from them. So I think the Dolphins have a lot of false hope that I don't see them being a seller at the deadline. I think if anything, I wouldn't be surprised if they buy a little bit. I know they have the Cardinals, then they go Buffalo, then they go Rams, then you go Raiders. You could easily get out of that stretch with Tua back, 3-1, and you have the Patriots after that, so you can go 4-1, and then you can really sell yourself that we can be a serious playoff team.
All right, let's go to the other side of the equation. Here are the teams I think, and we'll obviously talk about these next week as we are right on top of the deadline at that point. Here are the teams I think are looking at being buyers. I'm going Detroit, San Francisco, the New York Jets, who at 2 and 5 still think for some reason that they and their booger-eating quarterback have a shot. I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Pittsburgh Steelers as my top-tier buyers.
I think the Niners are in a tough spot. I don't know what you can offer to buy, but they need to buy, right? That team's falling apart. And maybe we're seeing the end of that era, if you will, of the Niners, where I think Kittle does not have a lot of time left. You still got to have a heavy price to pay with Brock Purdy, which is just going to be kind of interesting. And at some point, you have to start relying on a young talent. And remember, if you make one mistake with Shanahan, good luck trying to get that, trust back. CMC looks like he's on the tail end of his prime, which you can't blame him, man. That the amount of miles that's on that guy, injuries was going to come. So I think they're going to be big sellers. I don't know how much they can buy, but I think they will be. I do agree with that. Lions are going to be in the conversation for an edge rusher, so I do see that, and they really do believe they can win now, and I think they can.
Dude, if they don't make a phone call yesterday for Max Crosby, I don't know what to say to him. That call's got to get made.
Exactly. They need to do anything they can to get him or just get anyone because, look, the NFC will never be weaker than it is right now, right? Who do they honestly have to worry about? I'd argue Green Bay. But, Eagles are gonna trip over themselves. Cowboys are a joke. You don't have to worry about them anymore. The Niners are injury prone. They have injuries all over the field. You just proven that you could handle the Vikings. And how good is Sam Darnold going to be in the playoffs? Really? He's going to be that good? I don't think so. This is the clearest it'll ever be for them to make it to the Super Bowl. So they have to do that. I thought it for a little bit, honestly, Rob, that they would make a move for Hassan Reddick. I was like, if he doesn't come back for the Jets, that could be a smart move. But, yeah, they have to get on the phone and call Crosby and try to get a deal done.
You mentioned Brock Purdy, and I'm real interested because I have said for a while, I was on y'all's show on Tuesday night, and I told Brad and Ryan that I look at Brock Purdy the way I look at Hawkeye in the Avengers movies. Is he more talented than the average man? Yeah, for sure. But at the end of the day, Hawkeye's dope because he's got the Avengers, right? When the Chitauri and Loki came to town, what did Cap tell Hawkeye to do? Go stand over there and watch. That's literally his job in that movie is go be a spotter, not participate. Go stand over there and be a spotter. That's Brock Purdy. He's just had Ayuk and Debo and McCaffrey and Kittle and this wonderful talent. Well, now he's down to Kittle And Jordan Mason, who, by the way, stellar way to show up and be a solid backup for CMC. But the more tape on Mason that's been viewed by other NFL teams, the slower he's been game by game. I think the 49ers are about to get a very rude awakening about the amount of money they have decided to pay to Brock Purdy, because without the Avengers, he's just a guy with a bow and arrow. And that's Hawkeye talking about Hawkeye, not me.
But maybe it's also he's got to adapt to it. Like, I don't know if it's as much as he's not as good as we think he is. Maybe it's just more of, hey, you got to get used to it, not having all these guys around and not, kind of being the leader on the field and not having to lean on other guys. Like, I pivot more to that. And also, man, like the defenses he struggled against, like everyone has. Like the Chiefs defense is light years better than their offense right now. And who thought we'd ever say that with Patrick Mahomes as their QB? And like, he struggled against the Vikings defense. But Brian Flores is a hell of a defensive mind, and he's confusing everybody, but he still threw for over 300 yards. I don't know if I would go so far like he's, the Hawkeye. I don't think I would, give him that. If you want to do like an Avenger comparison, I bet he's like, Spider-Man with the younger guy that comes in. You're not going to lead on him to be a leader, and, he's not going to like save the day for like, Captain America, but he's going to get the job done, and he's going to do his role, and he's going to win you some battles.
Lonzo, I defer to you for a grade on that comparison.
Obviously, Mario's right, because and also looking for guidance from the other guys, the other Avengers that have been out there, and things like I mean, so I think he's dead on with his comparison.
Okay, I mean, I figured you would. You could have said he was freaking Iron Man, and the camaraderie was always going to be there. I respect it. All right, Mario, we have got one more real quick before we get up out of here. Andy Dalton involved in a car accident, sprained thumb. He's out. Bryce Young getting the nod for the Carolina Panthers on the road against the Denver Broncos in the Mile High City this weekend. From an outsider with less dog in the fight than we've got around these parts in upstate South Carolina, your expectations and level of interest in Bryce Young this weekend is what?
Hi. What? You had nothing to lose anymore. What do you have to lose? You have nothing to lose. You already lost your job. The team's not going anywhere. The team's not going to make the playoffs. The team's terrible. It's going to be another tanking season. Just roll it out there and play. That being said, I love the under 41.5. I've already bet it. I'm going to bet it again. I'm probably going to bet it again tomorrow. I'm going to put a lot on it. But Bryce Young, there's nothing for you to lose anymore. You've lost everything. You might as well just go out there, play ball, have fun, and just hope you get traded to an organization at the deadline. There's teams that want them.
This is when you're getting let go.
Yeah.
And it's so you're trying to pad your resume. That's what he's doing. He knows he's being let go, so he's got to get out there and pad that resume.
First off, you don't know he's getting let go. It's just being talked about that he is a potential trade target. And now with Tua back, assuming that Tua doesn't go full T-Rex arms on the field again after another shot to the noggin, that's the only place I think would have been a target for Bryce Young was the Miami Dolphins. And unless Tua gets rattled again, I don't think they're moving anything.
I'll add another one for you, because why not get your future while staying in the present? What about the Rams?
That's actually not bad. I mean, if there's a guy I think you could pair with BY to get the most out of him, McVay's got to be the answer. But here's my question. McVay has already tiptoed the line of retirement to move to the booth, because why not? That's all we do is hire former dudes into the booth. If the Rams finish this year on the pace they're on and they finish this year like 5-12, I don't think Sean McVay's coming back next year.
But then you could get a guy in his coaching tree to, take his place. A guy steps up on the staff. All those guys tend to pan out. So in a comfortable system, you have Puka Nacua too. That's a young receiver that can grow with you. I don't think McVay, if McVay has that and he sees something in him, I see him staying around and go, let me see if I can build a dynasty. That guy's competitive as hell, and he would love to beat the hell out of the Niners for 4 years to come.
Fair enough.
Hey, why not trade Bryce Young for Cooper Kupp?
I don't hate it because they want a second-round pick, and Bryce Young is not a second-round pick is the only answer. But I don't hate it. Hey, Mario Herron from the BetQL Network. He covers the NFL and the NBA, is also the executive producer on BetMGM Tonight with Ryan Horvat and Brad Evans, which you can hear every single weeknight from 7 to 11 right here on the Fan Upstate and fine Odyssey stations everywhere. Appreciate you, brother.
Always love coming on. Thank you guys so much for having me. Tune into BetMGM tonight for Thursday Night Football bets and reactions, and get ready for your weekend too as well. We're doing a little World Series preview too, so get in on that.
Gosh, if only you knew some baseball, guys.
Yeah, we already had you on this week.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You act like I didn't have you on 2 days
That's true.
ago.
You did.
Yeah.
Talk to you next week, big dog.
Yeah.
Mario Herron, Hatin Mario from the BetQL Network. We're back with Fight Club after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Above average performance, buddy. Thank you.
That's what my girlfriend said too. I'll see you guys.
Well done. See you, buddy.
See you guys.
Mario and his inappropriate humor. Ciao. Hi, Chris. That shouldn't have been that dramatic. That shouldn't have been that dramatic. Be right back, guys.
is my understanding.
Stephanie, I believe, speaks it she speaks it the way that like Kyrie Sane speaks English, right? Like you can get her through a promo as long as it's a line or two, but we'll see.
All right, the next match, you cannot go wrong with an ambulance match. Those things are always fun.
Oh, for sure.
And it's an ambulance match between Ridge Holland and Andre Chase. I fear for Andre Chase because Ridge Holland's a bruiser already, and you put him in this kind of match, he's going to have fun.
This has got to be the match for Ridge Holland. It's got to be the match for Ridge Holland because after the Brawling Brutes got broken up, Ridge is the one that kind of took the brunt of that because they found something to do for Pete Dunne. Sheamus is Sheamus, one of the icons of the sport. If Ridge Holland wants to find his way back up to main roster competition, he's got to sell himself as the guy who can end people with this match. I'll go Ridge Holland.
I'm also going with Ridge Holland. Keep an ear out. We'll find out if our theory is true about something.
Yes, I was told that it is. It's got to be up by 10 a.m. So,
no, I mean the sound
gotcha.
that it makes. All right. Also, Women's North American Championship, Kalani Jordan versus Fatal Influence. So the way, according to a member of Fatal Influence was determined to get this shot. Then the team lost to Stephanie Victoria and Julia. So they don't know who's facing Kalani Jordan. My guess is it's going to be a triple threat.
You're probably not wrong.
Because it's spinner's choice.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, that means they get to decide what the match is going to be, and they're going to go triple threat.
For sure. I don't know what happens here. I will say this. They did a promo with Kalani Jordan and Trick Willie to open NXT. I don't know if it was this week's or last week's. I'm still kind of getting caught up from the last couple of weeks. But if you put Kalani in a promo with Trick, I assume you're going to have her hang on for another match.
Yeah, I think she will too. But don't be surprised if a cowgirl ends up winning it. She's been there a long time, and she is a member of Fatal Influence. All right, North American Championship. This is number 3, I believe. Current champion, the Don of the NXT. Tony D'Angelo versus Obafemi.
And it's a tables, ladders, and scares match. And I'll tell you what I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed that little 30-second promo that they did to open up NXT where he said, oh, and by the way, Don, your family won't be here to help you this time. Right? That is such a horror movie line right there for a Halloween theme, as in, why not? Is he getting them banned from ringside, or is the show going to open with everyone else in the family murdered backstage, a la Wyatt Six style? I don't know. However, as much as you know I'm a big the Don guy, the family guy, no, you know what? He's going to win. I was going back and forth thinking Obafemi's probably going to get it back because that's a dude that I think Obafemi is main roster ready. And I think he's getting sent up sooner rather than later. That's a dude you put in a match with Braun Strowman when he comes back and you break things.
All right. So far, we have agreed on everything. And there's one last match for the NXT Championship, Trick Williams versus Ethan Page. This one will be a Devil's Playground match.
Those are always the best too. Because it's just hardcore. It's just hardcore match. And I'm here for it.
Someone's going to end up in the candy corn, stuff like that.
Somebody's getting a jack-o'-lantern put over their head. It's a classic.
Which hurts worse, falling on tacks or candy corn? I don't know. Well, Legos would hurt worst of all, but still.
So who did that spot? Somebody did a Lego spot in the last couple of years.
Yeah. And it was like, no.
I think I gotta quit. I think it's the first time in rap. I have watched dudes hit each other with barbed wire. I have watched dudes hit each other with fluorescent light bulbs. When my man opened the bag of Lego pieces on the ring, I'm like, I can't watch this match. It's too brutal for me. I'm out. This is just above my comfort level. I can't do it.
I will tell you, if you're driving past a building, pirate radio is alive and real. That's all I'm saying.
Sure. I'm in.
Don't know how it happened.
Hoist the Jolly
Don't know
Roger.
why it happened.
Fly the black flag. I'll tell you what. For the sake of we have picked every match the same here, you take your pick. I'll take the opposite of whoever you pick. I'll put it on the line like that.
All right. I'm going with Ethan Page.
Okay. Give me slick Trick Willie style, y'all. Also, Ethan Page dumped his own diss track.
Yeah.
And it's spectacular, dude.
All right, other wrestling news. Britt Baker and Adam Cole.
Whomst?
Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, friend of the show.
Thank you.
And Adam Cole, baby, are supposedly split.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Britt, you need a shoulder to cry on.
Yeah, Tony Schiavone will be there for that. Anyway.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's what I was going to say.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Tony Schiavone.
Yes. Also, Adam Cole now has a cadaver bone in his body.
As a fan of the morbid and macabre, I think that's awesome. I think it's very cool that we can take parts of a dead body and put them in an alive body and make the alive body better. Science is the best. That's really cool. However, let's talk about something that actually matters. Why is Adam Cole the good guy?
I don't know.
Somebody explain to me how Adam Cole had a heel turn weeks and weeks in the making that we were all looking forward to. Did the heel turn, did it very well, by the way, got MJ bleeping F over as a face because of how ridiculous the heel turn was. And then he comes back and he's the good guy because
MJF needs to be a heel.
I don't disagree. And there's a way to do that.
Last night, he did his did a back and forth while on the massage table and had a happy endings joke at the end of it. So, I mean,
I'll say this about MJF. Best heel in the game, to the point that even I'm like, I'm uncomfortable. It's fake, and I'm uncomfortable, MJF, which I guess is the mark of a great heel.
For sure. All right. Tomorrow, around 10:30, we've got a surprise. You guys are going to have to wait to hear it, but I want to go ahead and announce it.
Because we're not jinxing this one.
And I'm going to announce it because I'll get jinxed. This show won't get. I mean, we haven't figured out the logistics yet as far as where it's going. Well, we know for sure it's going to air on the Upstate Pulse on Saturday night because we can't get this guest until after the show. Still trying to work on StreamYard. If that could happen, then you guys will get to see it before it airs there. And so Glenn Jacobs, better known as Kane.
Only known as Kane.
Yeah, unless you're in Tennessee. We were contacted. I was contacted yesterday by the awesome Rob Young from Borderlands Comics and Games in South Carolina Comic-Con Junior, which happens this Sunday, by the way. And Kane is going to be a guest at South Carolina Comic-Con Junior at the Convention Center in Greenville. You should check it out. Is going to come on and we're going to interview him. And because we're going to be off the air on this show, we will play it in its entirety on the Upstate Pulse on News Talk 98.9 WRD Saturday night. So keeping our fingers crossed. Sometimes these things fall through, but because of their schedules and all that kind of stuff, looking forward to talking to Kane. So if you have any questions that you want us to ask Kane, non-political, please send them to us.
The Big Red Machine.
Perfect for Halloween.
Without a doubt. I have considered being Kane for Halloween many times. I will say this.
That you have to build for it, but I mean,
a couple more.
I mean, maybe 6 months ago.
A couple more oatmeal pies in the bank. I might get there. I have one question that I have to get to, which is in the promo backstage you did when you were tag teaming with Hulk Hogan and The Rock and you dumped both of their catchphrases on them. How did you get that through that without laughing your ass off? Because you broke Hogan and you had The Rock doing Jim Halpert looks into the camera. How did you get through that without dying laughing? Because I don't know.
All right, time to take this thing in a different direction.
I swear if you say Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, I'm walking out of the studio. I'm telling you right now.
I have a legitimate question I have to ask you. November 15th, Tyson versus Paul. Tyson posted a sparring video and said, the boxing veteran, he said, I can't wait till November 15th. I'm charging right through you. Looking forward to that. With all the bluster and everything that Rob Brown is saying, he's absolutely going to watch that fight because you guys are going to watch that fight. And if he's truly a person of the people as he claims to be, well, then he's got to do what the people are doing, give the people what they want and watch that fight. And plus it's on Netflix, so it's not going to cost anything. All right, you're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on The Fan Upstate.
Are we done? Is it over?
It's never over, man. Is it blowing?
It is up and flying.
We
That's fantastic, Chris.
we got a
No more care if he gets in trouble.
we had an idea the other day, and it's good when an idea comes to its
Love it when an idea comes together. You kind of got to look up through the slats, but
Oh, I see it. Oh, it's not blowing like it was.
oh, it just was a second ago.
Oh, there we go. That's, come on, unfurl. Let me see it. There we go. Full on Jolly Roger. I wonder if you can see that from where you're from. I wonder if he's going to get in trouble. Obviously, the department head agreed with it because he saw it happen. Hope it doesn't interfere and catch on fire or something. Although that would be kind of cool too if just the flag caught on. I know it's yours and you bought it, but
I don't if it's for cool dramatic effect. It turns out, and this is not a joke, I own 4 Jolly Rogers.
we just happened to be talking in the office about something.
No reason.
Something. And I said it would be really cool if on that mast we had pirate flags. And I said, I bet I know someone who has pirate flags. Not only did he have them, but there was one in the office ready to go.
There's one hanging on the wall in the office, and then I had a spare in my desk just in case. I don't know why there was a pirate flag in my desk, but there was. So now it's on top of a giant radio mast in our parking lot. And for the record, we didn't do it.
Yeah,
We suggested
it was
it,
a suggestion.
but we didn't do it.
I mean, But here's the thing. It's a radio bit. That means, it's completely excused. You can get away with just about anything if you say it's a radio bit.
That's
Just
true.
about.
Just about.
As long as it's, well, I think some people are probably getting away with things that aren't legal, but ooh, we need to go out and get a picture of the flag with our picture behind. I don't know if we can get. Nah, it's up too high. Let's go across the street and see if they'll let us go up on top of the building. I'm sure they'll say, "Yeah, go ahead." Maybe we can find a listener with a bucket truck. I ended up staying till 1:30 yesterday. I have a hard time not finishing my job. It's more so knowing if I don't get it done, then I still have to do it the next day on top of the next day's work. Well, no, Venom's getting slammed. Maybe I shouldn't go see it tonight.
Oh,
I know you said you had a suit. You have a suit.
I agreed, and I agreed to do a thing for the Triumph last week. They have a
You always double book me. So
I went to lunch with you yesterday.
Yeah, I know. Wasn't expecting you to go anyway. We did see one movie together, and I don't remember what it was.
Orlovsky, put your collar inside of your suit jacket. It was Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, okay. How many years ago was that?
And also, we've seen more than one. We also saw one of the Batmans together.
Did we?
Yep.
Are you sure?
Yep, 100%. We saw a Batman movie together. We saw Dungeons and Dragons.
No, well, the only Batman movie that's been out lately is The Batman.
Yeah, we saw that one together.
Did we?
Yep. Sure did.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know.
I believe I think I saw it with you, Miss Lisa, and Cameron. Actually, I think I was an adopted Reitzel for the night.
Well, it's possible. Who doesn't want that?
There may have been one more very early in the current iteration of the Rob Brown Show. Text 2-1. Texas said, Rob, I tell you what, man, cream soda from ice cold glass bottles just hit different. I must tell you straight up, soda out of a glass bottle is the best version of soda. Hands down, no questions asked.
I haven't had a cream soda in a really long time.
Love a good cream. Barks cream soda, mwah, spectacular, untouchable. They also make a red cream soda, Barks does, and it's great. The two best sodas in the game for me are either Barks or Abita root beer out of the glass bottle and Mexican Coke out of the glass bottle. Mexican Coke out of a glass bottle is absolutely untouchable.
All right, what is Mexican Coke? Does that have to do with cocaine?
No, it's Coca-Cola, Mexican Coca-Cola out of a glass bottle. It is because Mexican Coca-Cola is made with raw, pure cane sugar versus the processed sweeteners and processed sugars that they use in American Coke. Mexican sugar is made with pure cane sugar, so it's got a much more clear Coca-Cola taste. It is the best out of the glass bottle. So yes, Texter, I get it. Texter said this morning, Facebook memory showed me a post from 2016 when I said, watching a Panthers game has me wanting to taste Clorox. It's good to see nothing ever changes. Oh, man, that's rough. That's rough. All right. Let's do we got about 7 minutes left till we get to the end of the segment, end of the show with what the X is going on. Let's do an abbreviated audio blitz here. I'm going to save some of them for tomorrow as well. This one came across my screen last night after the loss of Tua Tagovailoa. A mama was having a discussion with her daughter, who is a big Miami Dolphins fan. This little girl's probably 10, 11 years old, maybe. And mama asked the question to the little girl as she was getting ready for school, and the conversation went this way.
Just tell me.
Miami's backup quarterback is injured.
Who's the backup quarterback?
Tyler Huntley. Because Skylar Thompson sucks.
So that's putting you in a bad mood?
Skylar Thompson is the backup quarterback. Tyler Huntley is the third string backup quarterback. Now they have in some weird Boyle guy who's like the 100th string quarterback, and he sucks.
So it's putting you in a bad mood?
Yeah.
That kid's being raised right, is all I'm saying. That kid's being raised. Tyler Huntley's hurt. We got some clown named Tim Boyle. He stinks. He sucks. Now we got the 100th string quarterback coming in to be our backup quarterback. Now he sucks. I'm in a bad mood, Mom. That kid's the kid, man. That kid's great. That kid is goated. That kid gets it. That kid's welcome on the show anytime. Anytime. The Caps Off podcast is a pod that I didn't know existed until yesterday. And now I'm going to totally tune in because there's a controversy. I've mentioned it twice so far in the show. I have to get to it now. I can't tease it and then wait a whole damn day to get there. A video of Aaron Rodgers going around during the Jets' loss this past weekend shows Aaron Rodgers performing an action that some people believe was Aaron Rodgers picking and then eating his own booger on the sideline. The Caps Off podcast discussed.
Found out why he sucks.
Why?
Because I just looked up Aaron Rodgers on Twitter to try and find like something he said in the press conference, and there's a video of him eating his boogers on the sideline.
Sounds about right. He's a booger eater.
At least wipe it on something. I'm a nose picker, but wipe it on something, man.
Did he eat it? Full blown booger eat? Oh my god!
I don't,
Here
I don't
oh
see
my
the
god!
eat. Hold on.
Oh my god!
Puts it in there.
Oh, dude!
Booger eater, full blown booger
Eat.
eater.
You're 42 years old.
So not only is he bad at quarterback, he eats his boogers. The Jets are gonna jet, man, no matter what.
That might be the most "the Jets are gonna jet" I've ever heard anybody say.
All right, he's already denied it, but if you're going to pick, you should flick, especially at someone who's walking by.
Flick or wipe. Like, you're on an open field. I don't even care if you flick. Like, if we're in a movie theater and I see you pull one and flip it, I'm going to be like, dude, you're a gross human being. Like, you're a savage. Go back to the Neolithic era from whence you came.
Hey, you were in a fraternity. You've seen worse than that.
Maybe. But I'm going to tell you, as a 40-year-old man, if I see you pick and flick in a public space, I'm going to call you out on it. You're on a football field. There's 1,000 yards of grass in every direction. At least, like, wipe it on. You have a towel on your belt. You're a quarterback. He can deny it all he wants. It's pretty evident. You're on video, A-Rod.
I've seen it. I believe him. I believe he didn't do it just because.
What do you think he did? He picked it, ran it across his lips sensually.
I don't
You
know.
can see him do it.
I didn't. Did you see a booger? I did not.
Well, of course I didn't see a booger from a camera on the other side of the field. I saw the fingers up in the back cave, and then I saw them make the way to the mouth area, and then I saw them removed. And you know what I didn't see? A flick, a wipe, a nothing.
Yeah. Again, you and other people already don't like the guy. So this just makes you even happier that you found something else. I don't know that he did that. I don't believe that he did that. If he did, it's gross and disgusting.
Yes.
And he needs some sort of help.
Yes.
But I don't believe it.
Yes, I want you to know that if I caught my own brother eating his boogers, I'd put him on blast on the show.
Everybody wants to believe it's true. That's the thing. Everybody wants to believe it's true.
How do you not? He picked his nose. The same fingers went to his mouth, and then he removed them.
I didn't see that.
I don't need the James Webb telescope zoomed in to actually physically see the booger. I know what process is happening there.
All right, the only telescope we know about is the Hubble.
No, the James Webb telescope is better than the Hubble.
Yeah,
you should go follow it on Instagram. It's spectacular.
Only a select few know about that.
No, okay. I'm not getting into a nerd fight about this. All right. Let's see. I'll save that one for tomorrow. Oh, here's one that I like for you. Football nerd saying football nerd things.
Over the ball, I'm IDing the front, whether it's a 4-2, 5 down, 3 down. Find the free safety. It depends on where the free safety is. Lots of times people rotate. Sam, free. I look at it still like a piece of paper. RTNQMWS. Break it down to what the defense actually is. You notice a lot of the time, okay, the Sam and the free safety will change positions. A 3x2 set with our receivers. If there's 2 DBs to the field and 1 high free safety kicked over, where's the other guys?
And you do all this in like 4 seconds, probably?
Probably, I'd say like 10 seconds. Once the play clock starts, we break the huddle, come up probably about 18, maybe 17 seconds, start IDing the defense, look for the free safety, work my way back down the box, get down to my stance, call out our combination or what's going to happen. After that, you look at your defensive lineman in front of you. What can you do the fastest to hurt me? At that point, you're green 80.
Green 80.
All right, you cannot convince me that wasn't Kevin Owens talking.
It wasn't. It was Dan Clark, starting center for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
I knew it was Canadian. That accent sounds just like Kevin Owens.
Yeah, Saskatchewan.
I bet he could also do all that in French.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? That was Dan Clark of the Saskatchewan Roughriders running through what a pre-snap looks like for a starting center. So when I have said to you in the past, number one, God, I love when football dudes talk football. All right. It's just an art. It's poetry is what it is. Number two, what I've said many times, offensive lineman might be the most difficult position on the football field to play, and nobody gives him credit for it. That's why Dan Clark, you legend.
And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
Until I see video evidence, that was Kevin Owens. All right. The first thing that's axing is Keyleth.
Well, the newest 3 episodes of Critical Role, I believe the final 3 episodes of this season 3.
It is 12. They've already been renewed for season 4, by the way.
Yes, dropped today, and I know that there is going to, without giving any spoilers, a couple of very interesting things are happening in the show. Even if you're not a D&D guy, if you're just into like the Lord of the Rings high fantasy stuff, Critical Role is fun. It's just fun.
It's very adult, though.
It is very adult. Don't watch it with the kids. Watch it with the kids if you don't care about it, but they're phenomenal. It's a phenomenal show. And I know that I believe these last 3 episodes are going to center around a wonderful character named Keyleth, who is she's a member of the Arashari. She's effectively, for you Uber nerds, and a firebender.
She's kind of like a druid.
She is a druid. She's a nature druid, but she's from the Arashari. I know I'm dorking out. I don't care. The show's good. Shut up.
It's this season's been rough. That's all I'm saying.
The season's been incredible.
And
the stakes were raised.
All right. Emotionally, it's been rough.
That's fair.
And I can't wait to see. And I'm also dreading the last 3 episodes. All right. The next thing it's axing is Pacheco.
I'm assuming that would be of the Isaiah version. Of course, the Kansas City Chief, who was not, I can't believe Patrick Mahomes took him out. I mean, Mahomes just flat out took him out.
I hope he apologized.
I guarantee you. Not like, jokes aside, I guarantee he did. Either way, is he getting set to return?
He has been seen around the locker room without a walking boot.
Okay.
Even though he broke his leg, he's been seen around without a walking boot.
Okay. I'm interested.
And, people getting pretty excited about not only the newest edition, but some of the guys who were hurt possibly coming back. All right, the next thing that's Xing, and I did not click on it, but it was Xing, so I'm going to say it anyway. Mia Khalifa is Xing. So,
Okay.
So clicking on that would be a bad idea.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and say
it's probably political, but I was not going to click on it.
It is political, and I don't know that because I clicked on it, so that we're clear to my bosses that may or may not be listening. Mia Khalifa is a porn star. At one point, she was the number 1 porn star in the world. Apparently, and I don't know.
She also put a video out at one point with Deshaun.
Yes, she did. I believe that is correct. Mia Khalifa at one point was the most popular porn star.
Not that kind of video. They were like throwing a football or something.
Allegedly. Mia Khalifa. Yeah, you think that? Okay, we'll leave that alone.
I'm sure it went somewhere.
Mia Khalifa was the number 1 for a hot minute, the number 1 porn star in the world. And apparently I don't know what it is. I don't care because I'm going to be honest with you, and this may shock you. I don't care what Mia Khalifa thinks about anything at all in my life. And this is not degradation of porn stars or sex workers. I don't care. You're an adult. Live your life and be aware there are adult consequences that come with, in this case, very adult decision-making. She apparently said something today in the political sphere that has even, I'm going to use the phrase Mia Khalifa fans, like, nah, that ain't it, sis. That ain't it, queen. We ain't going to go. Okay. That's the most Mia Khalifa talk we've ever had on the show, and if we play our cards right, probably the last.
Yeah, let's.
I want to know. Lonzo brought it up, not Rob Brown.
Okay,
I didn't bring that up.
It was Xing, and we stayed in the realm that supposedly we believe it was in.
Anything and everything goes when it comes to what the X is going on.
All right, one last thing.
Yes,
Braun Breaker.
The dog versus the werewolf. Lonzo, I will pay for that on a pay-per-view. I will buy a pay-per-view for that. I know I don't, but I would. That match is going to slap.
It's his birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Braun Breaker. Did you see Steiner's other kid, the one that's playing football for, who is it, La Tech or whoever? He hit the Rick Steiner celly when he scored on Tuesday night.
I did not see
He
that.
hit the full bicep kiss and everything.
I'll have to look that up.
Oh, super dope. Hey, that's it for us. You'll have a wonderful rest of your day. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. Come back tomorrow because you know the Friday edition is going to get hype. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Later!
I really don't give a.
He absolutely ate a booger. He absolutely ate a booger.
Yeah,
absolutely ate a booger.
I didn't see the booger, so
I didn't need to.
I don't know.
You wouldn't have seen the booger. Boogers are small.
Some are.
He ate a booger.
I'm guessing if you are an NFL player, you have NFL-sized boogers.
Oh, man.
Do you think friend of the show, Paul White, has the same kind of boogers that you do? Same size? You think Andre the Giant had the same size boogers as you?
No, but you know what I've never seen? Paul White eat a booger.
If he did, it would be pretty funny. But, yeah, I don't know.
Paul White's booger probably the size of my fist.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe athletes' booger sizes are bigger or more athletic. I don't know.
All right, boys and girls, I got to go record stuff and do stuff and stuff. Thank you all for being here. Hope you enjoy the show. Come back tomorrow.
If you know someone bigger, ask them if their boogers are bigger. Research.
You're going to ask Kane that?
Yeah, get back.
Kane, what would you say the average size of your booger is?
No, I respect the people who got us the interview. I'm not going with that. I'm not doing that.
Oh, man. Y'all have a good day. See you back here tomorrow. Tell your friends about us. Goodbye.